भक्त सिद्धांत सरस्वती महाराज शील प्रभुपाद की आनंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम प्रभु श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोविंद श्याम राधा गिरी गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर धाम की मधुरपुरी धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की द्वारकापुरी धाम की गंगमाई की यमुनामाई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की प्रेमानंदी और glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Govindam, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Krishna Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Udari Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvamani Tajani. Namishesha Shunyavadi Pashamati Deshadarini. वन्दे भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिने नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी वाशव्यादेशदारिणे श्रीमद्गुरुजनारविन्दाभ्यां नमः वन्दे नन्दव्रजस्त्रीणां पादरेणुभीष्टशां यासामहिलोगीरं पुनानि भुवनत्रयं गोपीचरणारविन्दपरमाणवे नमः दिगम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खं कौमोदगी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायमुनिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वालालेशमनिशं प्रतिभावयामि कोमलं पूजयं वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारः वेदवेद्यवरं ब्रह्म वासतां पुरतो मम मूकं करोमि वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं जगद्गुरुपादमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णाय नमः श्रीमते राधिकायै नमः सर्वत्र गोविन्दनामसंकीर्तनं गोविन्द गोविन्द भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते सम्प्राप्ते सन्निधे काले नहि रक्षति दुर्निकरे मूढगति नरागमकृष्णं कुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि विकृष्णं यल्लभसे निजकर्मोपाप्तं वित्वङ्केन विनोदयचित्तं नारीधनहरणाभीरेशं दृष्ट्वा मोहावेशं एतन्मां सरसादिविकारं मनसि चिन्तय वारं वारं नलिनी जलगदजलमतीतरलं तद्वज्जीवितम् अतिशयसबलं विद्धिव्याधि अभिमानग्रस्तं लोकं शोकहतं च समस्तम् यावद्विन्दोपार्जनसक्तः स्थावन्निजपरिवारो रक्तः पश्चाज्जीवति जर्जरते वाक्राम्भोगिनः पृच्छदीते यावल्पवनो दिवसदीते तावल्पृच्छदि उशलं देहे गर्भवति वायौ देहापाये भार्या बिभ्यति तस्मिन् काये बालस्तावल् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावल् रमीसक्तः वृद्धस्तावल् चिन्तासक्तः परब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न सक्तः काके कान्दात्वसे पुत्रः संसारोऽयमतीव विचित्रः कस्य त्वं वा कुतः यातः तत्त्वं चिन्तय तदिह भ्राता सत्सङ्गत्वे निस्सङ्गत्वं निस्सङ्गत्वे निर्मोहत्वं निर्मोहत्वे निश्चलतत्वं निश्चलतत्वे जीवन्मुक्तिः वयसि जलेदकामविकार शुष्के नीरे कसासार क्षीणे वित्ते कपरिवार ज्ञाते तत्त्वे कसंसार मा कुरु धर्मयौवनगौरवं हरति निमेषाल्कालं सर्वं मायामयमिदमखिलं हित्वा ब्रह्मपदं त्वां प्रविश विदित्वां दिनयामित्यो सायं प्रातः शिशिरवसन्तौ पुनरायातः कालत्रयति गच्छति आयु तदतिरिक्तं जति आशाभाषम्. So these 12 verses, what is known as the Dwadasha Manjarika Stotram, which we have discussed in our last few weeks. So Prahlada mentions there, last we saw, Prabhupada says, Balastaval, Kridasakta, Tarunastaval, Taruni-sakta. What was mentioned earlier. Vruddhastaval, Chindasakta. That is why. Prabhupada says the same thing, that Kaumara, Anjane, Prajnaha. Right from the early age, one should develop Krishna consciousness. Dharmam Bhagavadaniha. Bhagavada Dharmam one should take seriously. Urlabham Manusham Janam. Human life is very, very rare thing. Tadapyathom Arthadam. That is the purpose of the bodily existence. So, many people, great person, Vidyananda Swami also mentions there, Dhirada means courage is this, that when one surrenders and takes spiritual life seriously with the goal of realizing the truth. So, nowadays, as he mentions here, that Acharya Swami is saying here in that 7th verse, he says, Balastaval Krida Saktaha. When they are a child, your time is spent on playing. All they want to do is to play. Tarunastaval Taruni Saktaha. When the youth all think about man or woman, it is attraction to the opposite sex. This is man's attraction for the women and women's attraction for the man. Balastaval Krida Saktaha. Tarunastaval Taruni Saktaha. And Vruddhastaval Chinda Saktaha. At the end, when he gets older, then old age is all for reflection of the past. What happened, what all I have done in my life. Great things I have achieved. Vruddhastaval Chinda Saktaha. Acharya Swami says that Pare Brahmani Kovina Saktaha. Nobody has time to reflect on the truth. Nobody has interest in realizing the truth. So you can see here that out of our age of 100 years or so, whatever, if that is the maximum lifespan in this world, more than 50 years is gone on sleeping. Because in childhood you sleep much more, or 20-22 hours in a day. The children are sleeping, isn't it? So practically, major part of our life has been spent in the sleep. And when grown up, you may sleep much lesser, but overall, if you take half of our lifespan is spent in sleeping. Half of our lifespan is spent in sleeping. So, and then childhood is spent on playing. Lot of time they won't be able to take any serious note of self-realization like Prabhupada did. And youth is spent on earning money and living happily in this world. So, and old age is for reflecting on what all I have done in my life in the past. So, all kinds of useless things, what I have done in this world, we keep reflecting on that in the old age. That's what happens at the old age. What all I have done. So, even at that old age, one is finding it very difficult to give up this attachment to the material life. That's what mentions here. So, you will see here that in this relationship connection with this, in another instance, he mentions that how apologies to Acharya Swamiji mentioning apologies to Shiva for what he has done in this world. He is speaking on our behalf. He says to him, Ado karma prasanga kalayani kalusham madra kukshav sthidam mam vinnutrame dhyamadhye kodhayani nidaram jataro jataveda yad yad vai tatra dukkham udayani nidaram shakyate tena vaktum chandamyo me aparadaha shiva 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 Shri Mahadeva Shambho. In that verse he is saying Adau karma prasanga kalayani kalusham. That in the due to karma vasana, what I have created, that I spent my birth in a particular womb of a mother's womb, and at that time, Madhra Pukshav Stidamma. Madhra Pukshav Stidamma means I spent a long period of time in the mother's womb. Ado karma prasanga kalayani kalusham. Due to karma prasanga means that due to our karmic activities, we were provided a birth in someone's womb, somebody's womb, where we had no choice, arranged by the Prakriti, material nature. And what was the state there? Vimmutra medhyamadhyem kathayadindaram jadaro jadaveda. That while being in that womb of the mother, especially mothers inside the womb is not a very comfortable place, isn't it? Urine and all other blood, so many things inside, and I was also lying there for 10 months. And Kodhenidaram Jadayo Jadavida Yadyadvai Tatra Dukham Vailindaram Shakyade Kenavamtum Chandavyome Aparadaha. That while I was staying in that room, I have been thinking that when I come out, I will act properly, not to come back here again in another room. But I didn't do that. Because what happened was, Chandavyome Aparadaha Tatra Chandavyome Aparadaha. My apologies for my offenses that I have not taken seriously in this life and taken your shelter. Therefore he mentions like that. In the 10th canto, he mentions there before, we have spoken about this also, when Krishna went to the Gopi's house to steal the butter, at that time he didn't get the butter. When he didn't get the butter, what did he do? He gone and pinched the baby's bottom and walked away from there. The devotee's understanding is this: Krishna had come all the way to do this. No. The reason behind that is mentioned here that who asked you to take birth? That's the answer. Why did you take birth? Krishna is asking all of us the same question. Why have you come and taken birth again here? Because as far as Krishna is concerned, if you do not escape from this existence, material existence, we haven't achieved anything in this life. So keeping that, normally whatever we say is that when we come here, we bring a rucksack with us, bag. We bring a rucksack with us. And that bag is filled with a lot of things. That bag what we bring with us. When the baby is born, every baby looks very nice, isn't it? Even a cat or a dog, not only human child, but even any baby, in the baby when it appears, all look very beautiful, isn't it? They have a nice feeling when you look at them. So, even if it's a baby monkey, still it looks beautiful because it's a baby, isn't it? So, but only when this so-called baby grows up, you will know what he has brought with him. Initially you don't know. Initially everybody looks innocent, everybody looks very nice, and we don't understand the inside of that child at that baby form. Inside what he has brought with him in the bag. But as soon as he grow up, the things start coming out from the bag. What all he has brought, the baby has brought with him. So when he starts taking out one after the other from the bag, then you start recognizing it is not that baby what we thought innocent and what we thought is simple. It's not anymore. Because what all the power of the vasanas, when it starts coming out from inside, the impressions, what has come in the subtle body, when they start coming out, you start recognizing the person's real collection of what he has brought with it. In the baby form, you don't see anything. You look innocent and everybody feels a good feeling for seeing that baby. Doesn't matter which baby it is. But when he grows up, and when the different vasana starts coming out from inside, then you start seeing the real nature. And you start thinking how nicely he looked when he was born. The child was born. But, so that's why it mentions here that first thing, that by entering into the womb of the mother, what he has done, the baby has done, he put the knife on the youth of the mother. Mother's youth is gone. isn't it? After the delivery, women lose their that physical beauty. So there it begins. That's the first attack on the mother. First attack on the mother. Then Bhakrahari says, that is only, this is Bhakrahari's statement. Bhakrahari says, when the child is born, the first thing he has done to his own mother, that she has lost her youth. She has lost her youth. And not only, then after that he has started creating trouble for the mother inside the womb. Inside the womb. And all sorts of things, what he has experienced in the womb, and mother had to tolerate so many things inside, when the baby is inside also. So, all these things, and the mother's relationship also mentions in the Bhaja Govindam, then how it affects. If you look in the third canto, you will see there, chapter number 31, Kapila Maharshi's discussions with the Devahuti Devi. It mentions there, isn't it? It's called Manava Bija Vikasa Kramam. In other words, how a baby takes birth in this world. Shri Bhagavan Vacham, verse chapter 31, verse 1. Shri Bhagavan Vacham. Karmana Devane Trena, Jandu Deho Bhavatane, Striya Pravishta Mudaram, Pumso Redakana Shreya. Then, Karmana Devane Trena. The decision is made according to the karma to take birth in this particular womb of a particular mother. Jandu Dehova Bhaktane. At that time he is called Jandu. Jandu. Dehova Bhaktane. Striya Pravishta Mudaram Pumso Redakana Shreya. That because of based on the Purva Karma, that means Purva Karma Vasanas or impressions that he has created from his previous karma, accordingly arrangements are made by the material nature God to take birth. And through the Redasa means through the semen of the man enters into the womb of the mother. Kalilam Tvegaratrena Panjaratrena Buddham Dashahetu Katandu Patientamba Tadaparam. He says here, in one day, the Shukla Shodanam, the semen and the blood, they mix together and it becomes what they call as Kalalam. 5 days it becomes Buddhudam. This is the growth of the baby in the womb of the mother. In 10 days time, it becomes like a berry fruit size. And then it becomes either a egg or it becomes a piece of flesh. Then, Maseni Tushira Tuabhya Bhagavandam Tatyanta Vigraha Nakha Loma Asti Charmani Linga Chidro Bhavastrivi. In 1 month, first month, head is born. From the body, the head is born. In 2 months' time, hands and legs comes out from the body. And in 3 months' time, all his nail and hair, bones, skin, and the difference between the man and woman also comes out. So, in other words, man-woman form comes out at that time, externally. Then, Chaturbhidava Sabda Panjami Shudradar Bhava Shardar Janayana Ida Pusha Brahmi Didakshini. In 4 months' time, all the Sabda Dhatu, that means blood and bones, all of them, they become fully matured, and in 5 months' time, he starts experiencing hunger and thirst. In 6 months' time, he is covered by the ulbanam, that skin that covers that baby inside, and he lies there. Madhurja Kannavana Adhi Redhadura Samhade Sheve Vimutrayo Agate Sajandu Sambhave. So, inside the mother's womb, while lying there, whatever nourishments comes from the mother's body, he gets it. And he develops his body on that basis, but at the same time where he is lying inside is full of worms, urine, and all other things which are not worthwhile discussing about. So that is where he lies there. He lies in that state. Krimibhi Chakra Sarva Anga Saugumaryan Patikshanam Murchanam Apnoti Klesha Tadatate Chudude. So there, while he is lying in that state, he gets bitten. His soft skin is bitten by the various worms inside. And now occasionally he loses his consciousness inside. The baby loses the consciousness inside. Kadutishna, Tishnoshna Levana, Lukshan Adimi Ulbanehi, Madrubuktai Ubasprishna, Sarvangothira Vedana, Ulbena Samrda Sasmin, Andrescha Mahira, Aste Kutwa Shira Kusho, Bhugna Prishta Shirodhara. So, whatever food the mother has eaten, and depending on whether it is salty or whether it is pungent or hot, chili, all of them, and bitter, all that effect, and that food will come to this baby as well. And baby lies in a very particular position inside the womb and has to continuously accept the situation like that. Bhagavatam says that Akalpaswanga Cheshtayam Shakuntami Vamanjani Tatra Latas Pradir Deva Karma Janma Shadobhavam Smayan Durkam Anuchvasam Sharmakim Amavindade. So, because like a bird which is kept in a cage, he cannot move his limbs anymore, but at the same time, all the memory comes back to him from previous life. What all he has done in the previous life, that comes back to him. And he remembers right up to another 100 lifetimes what he has done before. And Jiva starts thinking at that time, how have I ended up in this situation? All these things, it happens to the baby inside the womb. And Arabhya Saptamasana Labdhabodo Vivedinaha Negatraste Udivada Vishtaho Yuvasundaraha. So on the 7th month onwards, even though there is consciousness, ultimately he cannot stay in that place permanently. He has to leave that place, what is known as Prasava Vayu. That means the air that forces the baby to come out from the womb. So, Nadhamana Kshabir Saptavatrikala Anjali Sudamidadami Klavaya Vacha Yoyenodayarpinaha. That this Jiva who is inside there in the womb, he is practically like a yogi there because he gets a lot of information about his past and past activities there. That is a great thing for him at that stage. And then he continuously, because of that, that this is the, nth time that he has come again in another womb, he is praying to the Krishna at that time, when will you stop this cycle of birth and death? And he glorifies Krishna while within that womb. All this happens there. Although we are not, these things cannot be, this is known by the sages. The sages know what goes on inside with the baby. So that time there is a conversation, Jandu, it's called Jandu. There is a conversation that he addresses Krishna and spoke to him. And eventually what will happen is that if you read through, you will see Kapila Maharshi is saying this. Kapila Maharshi is talking about this. He says here that in the Evam Kalamadir Garbe Dashamasyastuvan Rishi Subject Shivadhyavachinam Prasutyai Sudimaruraha. He says after that when he comes out from the womb outside, he says to Krishna, I take completely your shelter. Please do not get this situation again to me. Let this be my last birth. Saying this, he comes out from inside the womb. So in the 10th month or the last month when he spends in the womb, at that time, he stays there glorifying Krishna in the womb. But Satyak Shivatya Vachinam Prasudhe Sudimarutam. Krishna is saying that you have been doing this so many times, but as soon as you leave, you forget me. You forget me. That's what we have all done. So many times we have promised Krishna that we will take your instructions and live that life properly, but we didn't do it. So therefore we have to come back. So many times we have made this promise. So Krishna says, this is so many times you have made this promise, what's the guarantee that you are going to do it again? You can't. So then he says, if I go out, Maya will capture me. then I will again forget you. Krishna says that's not possible, you have to go. And that is why Krishna's agent, what is known as Suri Maharuda, Suprasavayu or Suri Maharuda, he gives you a kick and you come out. When you come out, you come upside down. That's why you come out, isn't it? And from that day onwards, the whole life is upside down. Everything is upside down, isn't it? So it goes on like that. Kapila Maharshi says what happens in life. Tena Hashta Sahasa Kutva Kshirama Adura Vinishkramani Krichena Vinishwaso Hadasmrati. Then very distressed and even does not know how to even to properly breathe at that time, and in a very fully lost consciousness he comes out. When he comes out, first thing he falls into blood and urine, everything, and just like a worm in the filth, in the same way the baby is birth. Birth happens in that way, isn't it? And not only that, main thing what happened at that time is he has lost his knowledge, what he had in the consciousness what he had inside the womb, he has lost that. And therefore, an opposite way, his life begins. His life begins in an opposite way. And from then onwards, the boy, the childhood, what all the child has to go through. And Shai Goshiku Bajenge, Yandus Therese Ushide, Neshakandu Yenengana, Asayokana Seshtane, Rudamyamat Kajangam Ashagamal Kodadaya, Rudandam Vigadajnanam Pramaya Pravidam Vyatha. Then throughout childhood, boyhood, all that is very painful time for the child. And after they have grown up, the main problem happens is, that Balim, Kaumaran, all of them goes away, and then he comes to the youth. Alabdha Abhishidotyanadi Yanadi Dhamanyu Shisha. He says, here, by now, after the childhood, boyhood gone, by coming to the youth, desires have come. Very strong desires have built up inside. And in that youth, when he does not get all the desires fulfilled, he gets angry. He gets angry. Without knowing that it is due to his own sinful activities in the past that all these desires have come and giving him trouble. He is not conscious of that. Therefore what he does, he gets upset with everybody else in this world and starts fighting and arguing, quarreling with them. And Sahadehena Manina Vardhamanina Manina Karodi Vigraham Kami Kamushandaya Manam. So therefore Sahadehena Manina Vardhamanina Manina. That by now the bodily concept of life has become very strong. This is how our life is in this world, isn't it? How our identity with the body has become very strong by about 18, 20 years old. And from then on, it's a journey from which we find very difficult to retrieve back again. So, therefore, Bodhai Panjabi Aradhe, Dehe Dehimudo Asagat, Aham Amit Asatjaham, Karoti Kumati Mamadim. That living entity who is not fully conscious at that time, because he is attached to this material body, by now the identification you can see by 18, 20, in boys or girls, doesn't matter, how the identification with the body is very, very strong, isn't it? Boys want to look good, they want to give a good image, attachment to wearing nice clothes, decorating the body, all that things comes in that age. Same thing with the girls also. So by now the bodily concept, bodily identity is very, very strong in the person. That's what mentions here. That Shakiri Enavatam. Now, the only thing is that all these things are going on in us, in all of us, and nobody is, whom shall you report about this? Shandavyami Aparadaha. This is the situation I was going through, therefore I have not taken any notice of your presence. We never recognize Krishna's presence at any time. So, then, if it is like that, will he engage in any activity in relationship with the spiritual life? No. Rest of the time, either sleep. From the day birth itself, sleeping. 20 hours, 22 hours sleeping. After taking birth, the first thing what he does is, when the child takes birth, the first thing what he does is cry. Kwa, kwa, kwa. Crying starts at that time, isn't it? So, if you do not cry, what will happen? Others will cry. If the baby don't cry, others will cry. And if the baby cries, we think everything is okay. That is our logic. Our logic is, if the baby is crying, we say everything is fine, we give some chocolate to the baby. Now you're okay. So, from that day onwards, that nature of the world, that's what it is. When we cry, he will smile, and when we smile, he will cry. It goes on like this mutually. So we may not be crying externally, and they will be feeling happiness that the baby is born. In other words, what it means is, the moment that birth happens, everybody distributes sweets and saying that, oh, one more member has joined our camp. So this is the thing called birth. We are all suffering, another member has joined us. Like in the prison, when the prisoners are all locked up, when a new prisoner comes, they greet him, isn't it? Nicely they greet him. In the same way, we are also celebrating and distributing sweets, everything. One more, now you also come, suffer along with us. That's the welcome. So, you can see here that never a child is born without crying. Generally, all the children cry. And very, very rarely some great Mahatmas states in the history that they have not cried when they came out. It's a very rare thing to happen. But by and large, it's always that when they take birth, they cry. They cry. That itself is the beginning of the misery, inauguration of the misery of existence here in this world. So, you can see here that Ajahn Swamiji put that in those verses. Balastaval krida saktaha, tarunastaval tarudi saktaha, vruddhastaval chinda saktaha, pare brahmani kobina saktaha. He is asking us, where is the time for spiritual life? Where is the time for spiritual life? Childhood gone in play, youth gone on spending in the attraction for the opposite sex. Old age is all for reflection of the past what we have done. And nobody has any time for self-realization. Nobody has any time for self-realization. So much prarabdham with them. They are brought with that as well. Sanyam hanyi epibandu. The child will keep on crying, but if you give him some milk, he will stop crying. He will stop crying. And after crying, he will drink the milk. And then after drinking the milk, he will sleep for a long period of time. And then he will wake up and he will play for some time, smile and play for some time, little by little. But never attention will go any time in the direction of the soul. In the direction of the soul. So, if you go at that time, sit next to him and recite the holy name or chant the holy name or anything, if the child or chant any prayers, at that time you can notice itself, at that time you can see. What you will see, if the child has some purva samskaram, if there is some samskaram in that baby, it will come out at that time. It will come out at that time. Because the child either will show interest in that or child will not have any interest in what you are trying to do. It is mentioned in Mahatma's case, when Ramalingga Swamiji, he went to Chidambaram, and as soon as he was born, 1 year old, at that age, to Chidambaram temple, he was taken there by his parents. And he himself says about that experience, what happened at the age of 1, much later in his life. When he was brought there, that is the Chidambaram Rahasyam. That means that is where it was taught, the Patanjali's Bhashya was taught in that place, where he was taken there. There normally they lift the curtain and show you there. So when it was shown, that is actually the Chidakasha Darshanam. It is called Chidakasha Darshanam. The Chit-Shakti which is manifesting in the form of a sky, that vision. So when it was shown, this child who was sitting in the lap of the father, because of the ecstasy he experienced due to Samadhi state, he experienced that Samadhi state at the age of 1. He says this much later in his life, that in a song he mentions this. So what it means is that is a rare case. Very few cases it happens in the case of children. Prahlada's case it just happened, isn't it? Prahlada says, when I was in the womb itself, Kayathu's womb, Sri Narada Maharshi came and spoke to me. Spoke to the mother, it had an impact on me immediately. So, for very rarely for children, they will have bhakti from birth. And if mother and father have the same samskaram, it will be there. If the samskaram is there. If not, rest of the life, the whole child will be crying. Kwa, will go on. Because what can you do? You can see the vasana in a child even at that age. Nowadays what they do, if the child cries, they will put on a video or television, switch it on. And the child looks at it and stops crying. So parents are happy. Basically what it is, the child was seeing the same thing in the past life serial. So he's feeling happy now that I'm still able to continue with that serial what I finished in the previous life. That's what it is. So he has come here again to complete the serial. That's why I have come to this next life. So that continuity in life from last birth to this life is there in the subtle body. Gross body doesn't matter. Whatever body you have changed, irrespective of that, the continuity, the thoughts inside matters. What's the vasana inside that person? That's what matters. According to the vasana, material nature will make the arrangements in such a way that when he gets it, he feels happy. That's when he stops crying. The baby stops crying. So, samskara. Now, as if he grows up, what happens? All attachment for playing. Bhajastaval, krida santa, krida. Krida means continuously want to play. And you can see that practically in the modern world, sometimes children don't want to go out and play. They like to sit at home and play. And because so many computer games and so many other things the society has developed to keep them engaged. If you look at it that way, like the Darwin's philosophy, as far as they don't need hands and legs anymore, only the brain is sufficient. Only the brain is sufficient. It will develop in that way at some point in time. So, the krida sattha, this krida, attachment for playing, endlessly playing, it never goes away. So, in order that the children has to take to Krishna consciousness, the parents has to practice Krishna consciousness. If they are not practicing, the chances are that children won't take to it. Already the society has gone so off the track that it's very difficult to create that Krishna consciousness in it. Particularly if the vasanas are not so good inside. So, if the parents are busy in watching television and engaging in partying and socializing, what do we expect from the children to do? What will the children do? If the parents are partying and socializing and expect the children to become pure devotees, that's not going to happen, is it? So that is why the father is watching the television, and this happens even in the Brahma families now. Father is watching the television because all the programs are at that time. That's Sandhya time in the evening. All the programs come, and then he is telling the children, oh, you should perform Sandhyavana. So how will he listen? What is going to happen? So, and as soon as you mentioned here, Tarunastraval Karani Saktaha. As soon as he grows up, he has got what is known as the Vishaya Vasana. Vasana for sense enjoyment. What happens there? That is why about the youth it is mentioned. Praudhoham. He says here, Praudhoham Yavanasto Vishaya Vishakhanehi Panjabhir Narmasanto Gashto Nashto Vivekaha. What happens? Praudhoham. As soon as you become young man or young woman, Praudhoham, that pride inside, I am somebody. And Yavanasto, the Yuvaka brings that. Vishaya Vishakhanehi, he continuously wants to looking for sense gratification. And it is like this, it's like a snake which has bitten on all the 5 sensitive points in the body. Panchadhir Narmasando Dashto Nashto Vivekaha. Just like we have certain critical points in the body where if it is touched, it can cause death. That is marmosthanam they call it, where it is very critical points in the body. Similarly, in all the five senses has been bitten by a powerful snake. Because of that, dashtamashto vivekaha, all discrimination has gone. Then what happened? Sudhadhana yuvali swauda swake nishannaha devi chindavihinam mamakadayanaho managaro adhirunam. The result is that attachment to wealth, attachment to women in the case of man, and opposite say, Sudhadhana yuvali swauda swake nishannaha devi chindavihinam. There is no time for spiritual life. There is no time for spiritual life. All attachment to women, attachment to money, attachment to sense enjoyment. And what else? Inside the mind, mamakadayamaho managavadhirunam. Arrogance and pride is also taken inside the mind, inside the mind. So, Acharya Swami is saying there, with all this going on, what possibility is there to take to any kind of spiritual life? Impossible, he says. Impossible. So here you can see this Vishaya Vasana, that five snakes are bitten in five places where the senses are. Lost all your discrimination power, then position in the world, career, and all these things we have brought with us through our prarabdha. Prarabdha has brought with us all these things. What can you do? So much helpless we are in this world, isn't it? There is no point in discussing this a lot, but he's only talking about the situation is like this, making us aware that what is our precarious situation in this world. We come here with a big bag behind, with full of asanas inside. And when we get here, we forget about Krishna from every angle. And from then on, as we grow up, initially interested in playing in this world, afterwards, when you are in the youth, attraction to the opposite sex, along with that, arrogance and pride builds up inside, and at the same time, all you want is that wanting to enjoy the senses. So, because of all that, where is the possibility? He said, where is the possibility that you can come to spiritual life with all this behind? Because here, he mentions here that Tarunastaval Taruni Saktaha, Vruddhastaval Chinda Saktaha. He says there's no point in discussing about this anymore because that is the reality here. And therefore, but he says one thing here, therefore, what the Rishis did, Namo Parama Rishibhyo Namah, what the Rishis said to us was, they gave us a lifestyle in such a way, therefore, so that you do not get too proud about your position in this world. You can see how the advantage of Varnashama Dharma here. Varna Dharma is meant for this purpose, so that one does not develop pride in one's profession. One does not develop pride in one's profession. If you know that what kind of profession you will be engaged, what kind of work you will be engaged in life, then the chances are that you will not develop pride in that. Because from early life you start doing the same work for the rest of the life. Whereas now what has happened, because we have lost that, Varnashama Dharma, the result of what it is that whichever job is offering the position and money, that has become attractive to everybody. It has made like that, and therefore everyone works in that direction. Whereas in the Varna Dharma, it was completely based on whatever the father has done, the son continued to do the same thing. So, now what we have to do, every young boy or girl, what they have to do, they have to experiment with various jobs and eventually makes a decision what is the best thing to make the best livelihood. That has to happen. But at this Varna Dharma, what has been the principle behind Varnashama Dharma was that if the child has got a birth in a particular family, with a particular father, there must be a reason behind it. And that gene, it will pass through the gene. Now the scientists are also saying, perhaps one day they may also come to the same conclusion. That how, they are saying here, that the same vasana what the father had, the child also may have that same vasana in him when they experiment through the genes. In such a case, the child may not have to find out what he has to do in life, and that tension will not happen. Whereas today, most of the society, the children have to make a decision what they have to do in life. What can a child do? 17, 18-year-old, he has to make a decision about the rest of the life, what he is going to do, isn't it? So, now so many things, whatever comes in the market, sometimes they say medicine, sometimes they say engineering, sometimes they say information technology, sometimes they say banking. So wherever the money is there, the child goes in that direction, isn't it? So one thing we have to realize here is that in the youth, how one should live, that issue, whatever Krishna has sent us here, and according to our prarabdha karma, that whatever that has to happen, will happen. This principle. Whatever has to happen, will happen. That according to prarabdha, it is bound to happen. This is the principle behind it. So, then science will go in one direction, and maybe science may come to know that later, but today it hasn't come to that stage yet. So, what they are saying now is that if you look into the cells, and they are saying that it is possible to predict that how that person's life will be in the future, and these things can be mentioned, they are saying here. But we haven't got that capacity yet. So what does it mean? In other words, what is indicating that is, why all these things are spoken, is, in the plane of the body, everything is already determined. Everything is already determined in the plane of the bodily level. On the bodily level, determinism. Because according to your desire, there is no freedom on that level. On the bodily level, you haven't got any freedom. Because you may desire many things, but it may not happen. Whatever has to happen will happen. There is no freedom there. There is no freedom there. Therefore, that is why devotees say, what the devotees say is that best thing to do in that situation is to surrender to Krishna. And actually whatever comes in life, to accept it in that way and not to get too concerned about it. So that, and it should not, the job and profession and all that should not create too much of a tension in life. Because that's what's happening with the many young people now, isn't it? They are under so stressed out that by the age of 30, 35 they are already old. So all the energy strength what they had in them, that's completely finished, exhausted with that. So, and to live in this world with Shanti and completely independent and in a peaceful state is only possible if you do not load a lot of things on your head. If you don't load a lot of things on your head. And so here that already there is problem because of the sense gratification, attachment for sense enjoyment. What happens in the old age? Old age it says here, Tarunastaval Taruni Saktaha, Vruddhastaval Chinda Saktaha. Vruddhastaval Chinda Saktaha. The old age, the problem with the old age is constantly thoughts comes back from the past. What all things have happened in life, it keeps coming back. So whatever we have thought about in life and practiced it in our mind, you cannot give it up immediately, straight away it will not go from inside. Pare Brahmani Govina Saktaha. So, in order that one's own Antaryami, super soul inside, nobody has any attention there. That is our difficult situation now. That we are unable to focus our attention on the presence of the soul inside. Why did he mention all these things here? Because he is saying he is distressed over this. He says, no one is endeavoring himself to escape from here. Nobody is endeavoring for that. When he finds distress in life, when problem comes, he goes and asks from other people what I should do, what should I do about this. But he will never ask himself why it is happening. Because till we know our spiritual identity, this will happen. Why have I born? And why am I living? What is death? What is the cycle of birth and death? Where is it going to come to an end? All these problems are there. Is there a way of escaping from this? These questions he never asked. Why does he not ask this question? This is Acharya Swamiji saying to us. Why have we born? Why are we suffering here? Why did I take birth? What purpose am I living? What is death? What is the cycle of birth and death? Is there any way of escaping from that? This question I will never ask. But I will ask the other question. Why apple has fallen? Why the apple has fallen? And why did it fall? And why did we invent all these things? So many things we are doing in this world. We go underneath the water, searching underneath the ocean 100 miles inside the sea to find out what's there underneath the sea. We go in the space to find out what goes on in the space with other planets, all these things. And people are inquiring and whole galaxy they are traveling to find out if anything is there. And then they find out is there life in the Mars, or some people say there is life, some people say there is no life in Mars. And all kinds of research going on, and the people are writing articles and making theses and writing doctorates and things like that. They catch hold of the mosquito, and then they are finding out how many varieties of mosquitoes are in this world. Making research on that, writing a thesis and getting a PhD from that. Acharya Swamiji calls this as Kadadanta Parikshanam. Kadadanta Parikshanam means he doesn't know what he has to do in life. So what he does is, he gets hold of one crow and he starts counting the teeth of the crow. That is called Kadadanta Parikshanam. And then he thinks that all crows have got the same number of teeth. Then he gets hold of another crow and again count the same thing. This is the so-called research in the modern world. It doesn't mean anything. It's not going to get us anywhere at the end. So that's why they mention here. And so by the time he completes his research, the lifespan is over. There is no time left after that. So he has forgotten to live the life properly, in other words. So a big philosopher, it seems, that he wanted to get married, but then he said, let me complete my thesis. By the time he completed his thesis, he became very old, and it was too late then to get married. So many things we are finding out, we are inventing, and intelligence is going in all these kind of different things. But at the same time, that it has gone into the atom, molecule, and this, that, and the other. And we are finding out so many new things, machineries and technological things. But at the same time, and that is what we are saying here, that's all very well good. But at the same time, if you want the shanti inside, if you want that peace inside, you have to turn to the attention of the soul. Turn your attention towards the soul. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Because shanti is one thing for which you won't be able to develop a machine for that. Where you can switch on the machine and shanti will come inside. It won't happen. That's what they're saying. They have found the pacemaker, but they didn't find the peacemaker. Pacemaker they have found. A lot of people have got pacemaker, isn't it? But peacemaker, no. Peacemaker won't be invented like that. So, no mechanical arrangement is possible for shanti. That's what it is saying here. So, that's why it says here, as long as there is chinda saktaha, isn't it? Balastaval krida saktaha, tarunastaval taruni saktaha, vruddhastaval chinda saktaha. Chinda saktaha means that he is constantly thoughts are coming. That means there is no shanti inside. Pare brahmani kobina saktaha. So, Shastram says here, they mention that so many different kinds of experiments, but you will never be able to find through experiment a way of finding the peace inside. So even the research what they are performing, many things they are engaged in that, but at the same time we require food in this world. That's all what it is. So, and if you when you need food, it's no point in writing a thesis about that, isn't it? Only if you take food, your hunger will go. Similarly, Ajahn Swami says here, Pare Brahmani Kovina Sakraham. Without knowing what is the ultimate goal of life, getting our attention distributed in various other things, in that way the time is wasted in this life. And he leaves this world. So, this very valuable human form of life Krishna has given us. That's why he says here, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mutamate. So, and find out, he says, Krishna who is situated within our own heart. Nityo Savam Bhavanti Esham, Nitya Shri Nitya Mangalam, Esham Hridisto Bhagavan, Mangala Yadano Hari. So, Krishna who is in the heart of every living entity, for him, one who has realized that, for him it is daily festival, Nityolsavam. Nityolsavam Bhavanti Esham, Nitya Shri Nitya Mangalam, Esham Hridisto Bhagavan, Mangala Yadano Hari. For whom everything is auspicious, mentions here. And then, in the next verse, he mentions, verse 19, that where he talks about that. Yogaradova, Bhogaradova, Sangaradova, Sangavihinaha, Yasya Brahmani Ramade Chittam, Nandadi Nandadi Nandateva. Yogaradova, Bhogaradova, Sangaradova, Sangavihinaha, verse 19. Yasya Brahmani Ramade Chittam, Nandadi Nandadi Nandateva. He says here that when you are engaged in yoga system, any yoga system, whether you are engaged in yoga practice or if you are engaged in bhogam, sense gratification, whether you are in the middle of, you are in a good association, sangam, or bad association, sangam, or you have given up all association, doesn't matter. Whatever it may be, whose subtle body is absorbed in the truth. Yoga Radova, Bhoga Radova, Sangha Radova, Sangha Vihina, Yasya Brahmani Ranade Chittam. That means his Chittam subtle body is absorbed in the Brahman. Chitta Brahmani Ranade Chittam. Nandadi, Nandadi, Nandatyeva. He says here that Yasya Brahmani, that he has found the soul within his own, within himself, self-realized, in other words. That means one who has engaged in self-realization process and he has found out his own identity. Such a person, that for him, his own identity, one who knows that he will know Nandadi, Nandadi, Nandatyeva. That Nischalata, Nischala Vastu inside Adhishtanam, Nandatyeva. He is continuously experiencing bliss. So, till self-realization happens, this bliss will not come to anybody. What we will not experience that unless the realization of the self happens. Whether it does not matter whether it is Advaitam or Dvaitam or Vishishtadvaitam, anything, they all agree on this one point, that first we have to realize the self. Without that, nothing is possible. So without realizing the self, all other talk about philosophy, this, whether it is one or two or three or whatever that is, all doesn't make any sense. Because realizing that inside my identity, the spiritual identity, till that is realized, everything else is not going to help very much. So that is what mentions here. Nandadi, Nandadi, Nandatyeva. So therefore, many great personalities have said that he is calling after realization. Maimanavar says this, he is calling everyone. Enjoy this bliss, he says. And he says, Balyam, Kaumaram, Yavaram, Vardhakyam. That means boyhood, youthhood, old age, all of them. That he says that just like if you throw away a few drops of rice, cooked rice, how the crows will come to eat that and they will call inviting everybody else. Similarly, all the self-realized souls also, they are also inviting us to realize the truth in the same way. So, so that experience of the soul, and that is what is mentioned here, that Brahmanibhav, this realization happens, Rasanibhava Sambhavam, he says. Rasanibhava Sambhavam. And how does that happen? That is what he says in the next verse, that body will drop away one day. Body will drop away one day. And how long this body will last, you cannot say about that. So he is saying that everyone should come and take advantage of this body, what's been given to us. And what is the benefit of this body is that to realize the truth. There is nothing else. And therefore, he mentions like this, the shop is open, but whoever has come and all great realized souls, they have only this one thing to tell us, that realize this self-realization in this body very much now, before anything happens. That is why you will see the Bhagavad Gita, that same statement. Krishna Prabhupada mentions that quotation from the, that is, if you look into chapter 7, verse 7. Verse 7 mentions, you will see in the purport, proper quotes from the Shedashvara Upanishad. Vedahamedam Purusham Mahandam Aditya Varnam Tamasat Parastad Tamema Vidwan Amrita Bhavati Nanya Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya Yasman Param Na Param Asti Kinjin Yasman Aniyo Na Jayo Asti Kinchan. So, Vedahamedam Purusham Mahandam Aditya Varnam Tamasat Parastad. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. Knowledge of that Supreme Person. So here, Shunanda Vishe Amardasya Putraha, the same verse comes in another Upanishad also, where it mentioned Shunanda Vishe Amardasya Putraha. We are born for self-realization. That is why we were given this body and sent here. That not only in this body, Dini Deva, that everyone in this world should hear, addressing that O children of immortality, Vedantamevam Purusham Mahandam, Parama Purusham, and how should one realize that? Not standing as false ego. That's not the way to realize that. You have to become that. That is what the definition statement. That Vedantamevam Purusham Mahandam Aditya Varnam Tamasat Parastad Tameva Vidwan Amrita Bhavati Nanya Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya Yasman Param Navaram Asti Kinchil Yasman Aniyo Na Jayosti Kinchil. He says here, now while commenting on the translating that Prabhupada mentions like this, that I know that Supreme, from the devotee's point of view, realization of Bhagavan. From Jnani's point of view, realizing the self. That's all. But it is a Upanishad statement, and therefore it is normally spoken in the way that realization of the soul, self-realization. In that way it is spoken. Vedahamedam Purusham Mahandam Aditya Varnam Tamasat Parastad Tameva Vidwan Amrita Bhavati Nanya Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya Yasman Param Navaram Asti Kinchil Yasman Ananiyo Na Jayasti Kinchil. So there is no truth superior to that person because he is the supermost, he is smaller than the smallest, higher, greater than the greatest, he is situated as silently, and he illuminates the transcendental sky, and as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. So, this is in relationship to the Bhagavad Gita verse. Matta Paradaram Nanyam Kinjidasti Dhananjaya Mayi Sarvavidam Prodam Sutre Manigana Yuva. The verse related to that. So, from there itself, you can see that why that particular verse, Balastaval Krida Sakkaha, Tarnastaval Karni Sakkaha, Vruddhastaval Chinta Sakkaha, Pari Brahmani Kovina Sakkaha. In relation to this verse, you can see that you will not realize him staying as false ego. That's not possible. You have to realize him by becoming that. In other words, only when you realize the self, that happiness will come. When you are on the platform of false ego, that will not happen. So that is why Aditya Varnam, therefore, that tattvam, what is inside, which will never disappear, that will come out, and everyone will have an opportunity to enjoy that. Pare Brahmani Kovina Sakkaha, but nobody is prepared to come for that. So, therefore, many people, Krishna mentions that, isn't it? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions that I think it is in the 7th chapter. Manushyanam Sahasreshu. That's what this message is about. Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Yadadi Siddhaye Yadadam Api Siddhanam Kaschid Mam Vedi Tattvada. The same thing is here. That if we spend all our energy in childhood, boyhood, or youth, old age, everything in relationship with the body and the world, there is the possibility of realizing the truth. That is the question. Yeah. Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Yadadi Siddhaye Yadadam Api Siddhanam Kaschid Mam Vedi Tattvada. That verse. So, out of thousands of, normally we will say like this, that thousands of men, hardly anyone attains perfection. And among those who attain perfection, hardly anyone knows the truth. So, here, if you look at it, first thing is, you have to attain perfection. What is that perfection? Perfection is self-realization. Even that, people are not willing to take it seriously. That's what Krishna is saying there. That even that seriousness is not there to take spiritual life as the goal of life. Even that has not happened in this world. That's why they are mentioning here that self-realization is a long way for the society, and you can see in the growth of the body from the childhood, from the baby's life to the adulthood, passing through different phases. In different times, different kinds of avidya comes to us. You can notice that. From the birth right up to the old age, till we leave this world, at different times in life, different kinds of avidya or ignorance comes to us. That is why it always baffles everybody. Oh, I should have done like this before, I should have done like that before. We keep saying later, after the time is over. Isn't it? I wish I should have studied Bhagavad Gita when I was young. I wish I had taken spiritual life seriously when I was young. But all that time, because of avidya inside, ajnanam or ignorance inside, I wasted everything. All the time was gone, busy with all these things. Balastaval, Kridasakta, Paranastaval, Karanasakta, Vruddhastaval, Chintasakta. So time went through, and every time different ignorance came inside, in different forms. And therefore what happened? And that ignorance, what it has done was, So, and that ignorance takes us away from the main business. From the business. So therefore, he says here, Pare Brahmani, the same thing, the Kathopanishad also says the same thing. What Agani Swami says in this verse, Balastaval Krida Sakaha, Tarnastaval Tarani Sakaha, Vruddhastaval Chinda Sakaha, Pare Brahmani Kovina Sakaha. He is beating his chest and saying this to us. That in life, normally there is no much vasana with us to go into the spiritual direction. All the vasanas are towards sense enjoyment. And while taking birth as a baby, the baggage is full, but it doesn't come out yet. At that time, even before the vasanas have come out, the attraction is for playing, to enjoy life. Balastaval Krida Sakha. But as soon as you have grown, then the attraction for the opposite sex, male, female to male, that happens. And finally, with the old age, what happens? Thinking about the past. 50% of their life is gone in sleep. It is the balance 50% he is talking about. 50% of our lifespan, say it is 70 years, 80 years life, 40 years have gone in sleeping. Remaining 40 years, what we have got is spent in all these different avidya, different ajnana. And each time in life, at a particular age, a particular kind of avidya comes in. When we are young, we think, we have to study and earn money, and get some good job or make a lot of money in life. And then along with that, in the youth also desire comes to have family life and to enjoy life. At that time we say, this is all for the old age. Only when you get old, you should think about all these things. But Prahlad didn't say that. Ajay Swami is also saying the same thing, that it is not going to happen at the old age, because old age has its problems, it will come. And it has its own avidya, old age. Old age avidya is like this. Old age avidya, nature, although you are on your way out, you are still thinking you will be here forever. That is the avidya of the old age. You are on your way out, it's a question of time that you will be gone from here, but you are still thinking you will be here forever. That is the old age avidya. So that happens in that way. He mentions here that in the middle of all these things, to get someone interested in self-realization is very, very, very difficult, he says. Therefore, if you look into Kathopanishad puts it in a nice way. He says here that the same verse what we looked at before. Paranji khaniye tanal swayambhu tasman parang pasharina andaralman kaschil dhiraha pratyagaatmana aikshan avurta chakshun amrugatvam ichan. It's a very important verse in the Kathopanishad. It says here, Paranji khaniye tanal swayambhu, that Krishna has created in such a way, he has given different senses in the body. And what did he do? Tanal Swayambhu. Swayambhu means Brahma. Brahma created us in this way. And because the way we are created is Param Pashyati, we will look outside all the time. Always looking outside. Never looking, not Andaral, never attention goes in towards the soul. Kaschil Dhiraha Pratyagalmana Makshan. Only a Dhira, very, very courageous person who is really Dhira, he will turn his attention to Pratyagalma. Inside that awareness, I am, that one. Attention there, Aichat Avurta Chakshu Amudatva Ichan. One who has got only that desire inside for immortality, he will turn his attention there. Avurta Chakshu. Avurta Chakshu. That means one who has controlled all his senses and he has turned all his attention inside and he is inquiring after the truth. Such a person is Dhira. Calls, Kathopanishad says like that. Krishna is saying that Krishna mentions in that verse, isn't it? That what is the verse number? 7. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschin yadati siddhaye yadanam abhisiddhanam kaschinam virjitattvada. So by studying these verses, this verse of the Upanishad That verse of the Bhagavad Gita and what Acharya Swami says here, they are all talking about the same thing to us. That self-realization and genuine and serious interest in spiritual life doesn't happen very easily. It is not easy to develop that, because he says here, what are the problems? When we come to this world, we bring a huge bag load behind us with vasanas inside. And then at each stage in life, different kinds of avidya, ignorance comes in and takes the time away. And before you could do anything, the time is over and we have gone from here. This is our life in this world. That's why they are reminding us again and again. They all have got only one thing to say to us. That human life, as mentioned in the Bhagavatam also, Krishna says to Uddhava, whatever it may be, doesn't matter what happens in this world, that should not be your concern. Your concern, Nirdeha Madhyam Sulabham Sudurlabham Plavam Sugalpam Guru Dharnadharam. Krishna says to Uddhava, Nirdeha Madhyam Sulabham Sudurlabham. They all value human body to such a great level, extent. They are saying this human body has this capacity to realize the self here in this body. If it happens, you have got it. If it didn't happen, the whole life was a waste. Nadehamadhyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sugalpam guru karnadharam. Krishna says, I have made all the arrangements for that. Plavam sugalpam guru karnadharam. There is the human body is compared to a boat to cross this cycle of birth and death. It is compared to an ocean. Mrdehamadhyam sulabham sudurlabham. And this body is a very, very rare thing, human body. When we get it, and not only that, when you get that body to have a spiritual desire inside to realize the truth, and to understand and come to contact with Bhagavad Gita and the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's a very, very rare thing, Krishna is saying. Plavam Sukalpam, and not only that, he has given, Krishna says, Guru Karnadharam. The captain of the ship is the spiritual master. Mayanukulena Nahaswaderitam. That and the wind which is favorable to take us through that, to take the boat through that sea. Even in spite of all that, he does not utilize that properly. Such a person is the killer of the soul. In other words, he is committing suicide, he says. One who does not do that, he has actually wasted his whole life. That is the conclusion. So because in their way, body, mind, intelligence, and the false ego, all of them is not our identity. Our identity is Shuddha Prajna. That is why it's called Pratyagalma. Prajna means that pure consciousness. Shuddha Prajna, that is what is mentioned here. That nothing exists in this creation. When they found that out, what has happened? When they found that out, they have realized that except that nothing else exists in the creation. Except that nothing else exists in the creation. This is what happened. That is why it is spoken in that way. That after realizing that body, mind, intelligence and ego, we are trapped in all these things, isn't it? So when self-realization happened to that person, what happened was that he understood that in this creation what exists is only the soul, only the spirit. So in this creation, if you keep the soul away from this, nothing else is any truth here. Nothing else is truth here. That is why in that first verse the Ishopanishad says, Ishavasya idam sarvam yad kincha jagatyam jagat tena tekkena bujjida mahavrada kasya siddhanam. That is how you have to understand that verse. Ishavasya idam sarvam. What is in everything is Krishna. Krishna is present in everything. Except Krishna, nothing else exists here. Yet kincha jagatyam jagat. Jagat is empty without Krishna's presence here. Tena tekkena bujjida mahavrada kasya siddhanam. You know that first verse, isn't it? So, behind all name and forms, what we see in this creation, Krishna's presence has to be recognized first. That Akhanda Chaitanya, that living force within everything is there. And one who finds that inside, he is the fortunate person. Punyarthinam Janmadarshinam Okitihi. That after many years of lifetime, one gets the opportunity to hear about Krishna. Satsangam happens in a person. And only through that, Brahmavidya will happen. The purpose of Brahmavidya is Brahmanishta. Brahmanishta means that through Brahmavidya, one comes to be situated in the platform of Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi state, which Bhagavad Gita also talks about that, isn't it? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. That state happens to him. When he comes to that, in order to come to that state, Vairagyam is necessary. Vairagyam alone is not sufficient. Bhakti is also required. And Bhakti alone is not sufficient. Jnana is also necessary. So these three things, renunciation, knowledge and devotion, all these three things has to stay together. So that is why if you look into Srimad Bhagavatam, glories of Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken in the Padma Purana. If you look there, you will see there that why Bhagavatam was written. There is a mention to that. Why Bhagavatam was written. It mentions in there that Shri Narada Uvacham Jnanayajnam Karishyami Shubhashastra Kathoജ്valam Bhakti Jnana Viraganam Sthapanartham Prayatnadam. That Bhakti was in a distressed state, as you know, but when Sri Narada Maharshi was travelling in the planet, when he arrived in Vrindavan, he saw Bhakti in a very distressed condition. So he mentions there, Sri Narada Maharshi is talking about this. He says to Bhakti Devi that I will start reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. That will help the situation. And that's when he says, Shri Narada Vacha Jnanayajnam Karishyami Shubha Shastra Kathojvalam. Shri Shubha Brahmashi Sukadeva Goswami has spoken through Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. What is that? What did he do? Jnanayajnam Karishyami. Although Bhakti Grandam Bhagavatam is also a Jnana Grandam, book of knowledge. So I am going to start reading Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, which is Jnana Yajnam. That is how he addressed. That means this is a Jnana Yajnam. In other words, knowledge is also flows along with Bhakti there. Although it is a little difficult, then in due course of time, Bhakti Jnana Vairagyam will get its health back, he says. Bhakti Jnana Viragana Sthapanartham Prayatnada. For the sake of Bhakti Jnana and Vairagyam, Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. So why Bhagavatam was spoken? Because these three things have to come from that. If you take one out of the three, it will not work. It will not work. Bhakti Jnana Viragana Prakashidam, it says. So here he mentions, that is why Acharya Swami mentions here, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Muthamate. Bhakti, Jnanam, Vairagyam. All three things must stay together. That is what he mentions in that. Then, after that, says here that Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Muthamate. Samprapte Sannihite Kare, Nahi Rakshati, Dukkanya Karane. So far, this particular prayers, Bhaja Govindam prayers, which is also called Mohamudgara. Mohamudgara means that one which cuts through the illusion in someone. So many verses we have seen from here and there. Balastaval, Kridasakta, that's what we have seen here now. Balyam, childhood, youth and old age. So all these things are happening for what? To the body, isn't it? It happens to the body. And so bodily problems are these. Which one? Childhood, the changing, the body is changing. Childhood, boyhood, youthhood, old age, in that way. Then mind has got a changing nature. What is that? Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushupti. All these changes. And our real identity is not a state. These are all states. Which one? Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushupti is a state. But actually ours is not a state. Our real identity is not a state. That we should know. Because state is different than our real position, what it is. By creation, as spirit soul is not the identification with the soul or Brahman realization is not a state. Jagrat Swapnam Sushupti is a state. State means that comes and goes. Any state, it comes and it goes. That's why it's called a state. You call it as avastha. In the Shastram, the word used is avastha. That's why they call it as avastha trayam. Avastha trayam means Jagrat Swapnam Sushupti. So, the Turiyam or realized state, realized is not a state, realized situation is not a state because it doesn't come and go. Once it comes, it stays. It has to stay in that. So, whatever the understanding is, whichever comes, it has to go. In reality, our pure nature is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Surubam. Therefore, it is called Surubam. Surubam and state, there is a difference. Surubam means that's what we are always. That's what we are always. State is something that has come on the Surubam. Surubam is our identity. On that identity, stage has come. These three states has come and gone. So anything that comes, it has to go. It can't stay. This is the principle. Avastha Trayam it is, whereas Swarupam is our identity. Swarupa Sthiti. It is where we are originally situated. So, whatever that comes, it has to go. And that is what is called a chalanam, the movement, isn't it? So, and it's this stay coming and going. Without that, when you are eternally situated in a particular state, that is what one requires from Krishna's help to come to that situation, where not that something that comes and goes has no meaning. Whether it is from the platform of the Jnana Margam or from the platform of Bhakti Margam. In Bhakti we say seeing Krishna is important, isn't it? People will say that I have to see Krishna. But that's not given much importance even there, because you may see Krishna today, you may not see Krishna tomorrow. So realizing Krishna is more important than seeing Krishna. So that's why it mentions here that chalanam, anything that comes in the front will go away. Similarly, and all the avastha also, three states also will come and go away. A child, he cannot continuously play all the time, because when he moves away from the childhood to youth, his habit changes. He does not want to play anymore. And when the old age comes, he doesn't want anything to play. Of course, nowadays old man also wants to play. They are so busy with so many things they have found out how the old man can be kept busy. So that's the world. You can't say anything about that. But generally, that the same happiness what he derives in the childhood when he plays, he will not get at the old age. It's not possible. At the old age, he is playing to pass the time. But the absorption in the childhood when he was playing is different. Isn't it? So the reason is here mentions that Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Vardhakyam. So according to that particular avastha, that is also avastha of the body. Avastha of the body is this Balyam, Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Vardhakyam. That means the childhood, boyhood, youthhood, old age. This is all avastha of the body. Jagrat Swapnam Sushupti is the avastha of the mind. Avastha of the mind. But the self behind all these things, he has no avastha. He is always Satya Swarupam. His Swarupam is Nityam Shuddham Buddham Mukta Swarupam. Always eternal, full of knowledge and fully conscious and pure and fully liberated. That is his state. So that is his identity. Till you get to that identity, you have to go through these states all the time, whether it is in reference to the body or in reference to the mind. So, therefore, children wants to play, isn't it? Balastavali Krida Sakraha. So, suppose at that age itself, self-realization happens to a child. What will happen? That is the question. In the Bhagavatam, because of this only, while referring to Prahlada, Shuga Brahmashi spoke about this. He mentions in the 7th canto. If you look there, you will see there. Prahlada's childhood, how it was different from others. In the 7th canto, these are all not written just some story like that you believe, oh, Prahlada was also okay for Prahlada, but it doesn't connect, it's nothing to do with me. That's not how to see this. What is spoken in this Bhagavatam is that when that avastha, what we are going through the avastha time, means this Balyam, Kaumaram, Yavanam, Vardhakyam, or this Balastaval, Krida, Sakara, if that leaves a person at the childhood itself, normally if the child doesn't play, the mothers get upset, isn't it? Mothers start thinking, what's gone wrong with my child? He doesn't want to play. But Prahlada's case, his mother doesn't say anything about it. On the other hand, Shuga Brahmashi is saying he has done a good job for not playing and wasting his time. So that is why in the 7th canto, if you look, you will see there Prahlada's childhood. If you look in the 4th chapter, verse 37, he mentions there, Nyasta Kridana Gobalo Jadavartan Manastaya Krishna Grahagrihi Alma Naveda Jagadi Trisham Asinan Pajanan Asnan Shayana Prabhivan Bhuvan Nanu Sandatta Medani Govinda Kaviram Pidaha Kujil Drudadi Vaikundam Chinda Chavalasetana Kujil Asadita Chinda Klada Mundayadi Kujil Nadandi Kujil Ulkandu Vilajo Nutyavi Kujital Bhavana Yukta Tanmayo Anujakaraha Kujil Pulakastushnim Aste Samsparshanam Pradaha Aspanda Pranayananda Saridam Iridekshana Sauttam Shloka Pataravindayo Nishemaya Kinjana Sangaladhaya Tanmanbanam Nurnim Almano Mohur Usangalina Amanasham Yathal Tasmin Mahabhagavati Mahabhage Mahalmani Hiranyakashurajan Akarodham Bhaje. So Prahlada's case, it mentions Nyasta Kridanago Balaha, that Prahlada mentions there that when he was given toys, he threw them away. He didn't want to play with them. And that's what Jayaswami says here, Balastaval Krida Saktaha, isn't it? Attachment for playing is very strong in the childhood. And when we say that with the children don't play, we start thinking that something is wrong with the child. We say, the child don't play, isn't it? But, in Prahlada's case, Shuga Brahmashi is saying here that Asinam Pajanasnam Shayana Prabhivan Dhruvan, that while sitting in a place, walking, while eating, sleeping, and speaking all the time, because he was completely absorbed in Krishna. Absorbed in Krishna means fully in the realized state. That's what it means. Fully in the realized state. Therefore, he did not know what he was doing when he was eating or sleeping or walking or sitting anywhere. Asinan Padyadan Asnan Shayana Prabhivan Bhuvan Nanu Sandatta Medhani Govinda Parirambhigaha. Krishna has taken control inside. The self-realization has happened already at such an early age that he could not identify with any of the activities of the body or the mind. He could not identify with any of them. That's what is mentioned here. And therefore what happened? Nadani Kochidul Kando, Vilajo Natyati Kochil. Sometimes because of the absorption in the truth, he was crying why people do not take this spiritual life seriously. He was feeling their ignorance in them. And sometimes he cried, sometimes he used to think about the pastimes of Krishna and he used to smile about it. and sometimes he used to sing about Krishna's pastimes. Sometimes he used to chant the holy names of Krishna. Sometimes, without thinking about the world, he used to dance. And in other instances, he used to identify with various activities of Krishna and act in that particular way. So, that is why in Mahatma's case, they are identifying with all these things and says to us that the child wants to play, but only one purpose is behind it. The child is born, as soon as he is born, the baby cries, isn't it? Quack, quack, he cried. Why did he cry? Because as soon as you gave the milk to the baby, it stopped crying. It stopped crying. So, then it has got the desire for the hunger developed inside. That distress came. So, at that point, we have given the food. And all these stage, then you can see that when the bodily needs had come, the baby cried. And when you have provided the baby bodily needs, when you have fulfilled, so you can see that when you have responded to that properly, it is peaceful again. That means the proper state in which he was existing at that time was the identification with the body slowly developing. When the body was provided with food and when it was hunger, we have provided the food. And when it was thirst, when it experienced thirst, we provided the milk to the baby. So, when you have treated that disease, hunger and thirst is considered to be a disease of the body. From the spiritual point of view, it's a disease of the body. Normally we say hunger and thirst is necessary, but as from the spiritual platform, they are a disease of the body. The disease of the body. So when you have treated that, as soon as you have treated that hunger and thirst by providing food and drink, it stopped crying. So afterwards, next thing, he wanted some toys to play with, isn't it? Toys to play with. So one distress first. What is that? It got the desire, it is cried for milk. The first desire. Distress, in other words. First distress, it cried for the milk. You gave the milk. Second distress, it felt hunger. You gave the food. The next thing after that, it wanted to play. So, he is looking for some toys. And when you gave the toys to him, it was satisfied with that. So, samatvam. Samatvam means that peace came to that person. So, somehow or the other, we have to come to that state, that satisfied state. Satisfied state. Samatvam yoga, that is what is called the samatvam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna calls that state as samatvam. Samatvam yoga muchyate. Yoga state is like that. That means, samatvam means that desire is not building up and being satisfied. That is that samatvam state. So, for the child, when he has got its toys and sitting playing with the toys, he felt happiness. So, only for happiness that the child is desiring the toys. Only for the sake of happiness. After a while, playing with a particular toy, the child gets frustrated with that when the happiness is gone from inside. Then he throws the toys away from here, away from the hand. Doesn't want to keep them anymore, he throws them away. Tarunastaval karani sakaha. Next step, what happens? In the youth, various kinds of vigara means emotions builds up inside and attraction develops for the opposite sex, male to female and female to male. And finally, old age comes, and when you start realizing in the old age also, I have become totally useless. I am of no use to anybody. Everybody finds you as a burden in this world. That is when our attention goes into the past again. It goes back to the past and starts showing again the things what he has enjoyed in his youth, in his middle age, in his childhood. Old people are taking a lot of happiness in talking about it, isn't it? Oh, in my old days, how things were. Or they keep talking about that. So that is coming from that. That is why Chinta Saktaha mentions there. So from this you can understand what is that. Your Shraddha is always in objects which you are not. Whether you are a baby, whether you are a young man, whether you are an old man, in all these states, Your attention is on something which you are not. So long as our attention is on objects which we are not, till then we will not be able to find out what we are. That is why self-realization keeps talking about. In order to know the self, our attention and other objects must go. Other objects must go from within. Otherwise it won't happen. This is an important thing. That is why Krishna is saying to us that let the attention from the world go. Let it turn inside. Antaryami inside. Let that happen. And when the attention falls inside, realization is possible. Otherwise it is not going to happen. So long as our attention is on objects outside, till then we will never be able to realize the truth. Purpose of the goal of life is to realize the self. Alpa Sakshatkara is mentioned. So, without that knowledge of the self, whatever you may come to know in this world, ultimately it will all end up in distress. Because you will come to know many things. Because ultimately you will know that all that knowledge you have acquired in this world eventually turns out to be distress. So therefore, you can see this, you have learned a lot of things in this world. All those things at the time of death you will forget. You won't have it. You won't have that. Any knowledge what you have collected in this world about other objects, engineering or medicine or computer or law or banking, whatever knowledge you have in any other field, they will not stay with you before death. Much before death it will leave us. Completely it will go away. Whereas it is only the spiritual realization that gets better as you realize the truth. It gets better. It's the other way. Knowledge of the different objects or all the material knowledge what we have acquired in this world, it gets diminished in due course of time. By old age we lose a lot of interest and everything goes away from inside. Finally nothing remains, isn't it? And then we leave the body and we go on again. And whatever vasanas we have created, accordingly let's set another body and continue from there. On the other hand, Krishna's point is, spiritual knowledge, if it starts growing inside, it gets better as you move away from this body. Because the possibility is that spiritual knowledge remains in the subtle body in such a way that it will take us into the next stage where he mentions there that Balyam, Amaram, Yavanam, Vardhakyam, all these states are in relationship with the body. That means boyhood, childhood, youthhood, old age, they are all in relationship with the body. But the relationship with the soul, identification with the soul is totally independent. That's why. So that's what he mentions here. That knowledge which is in relationship with self-realization, that will not be affected by childhood, boyhood, youthhood, old age, Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushupti. It cannot touch that realization. That is an important thing. That realization, whatever you have realization about the self-realization, if it happens, Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushupti cannot touch that. That means vacant state, dream state, deep sleep cannot touch that realization. Similarly, changes in the body like childhood, boyhood, youthhood, old age, that cannot touch that realization. Whereas all other material knowledge what you have acquired in this world, under these three states, avastha, it will get diminished. It will go. It will be destroyed. It cannot stay. So you see the difference between self-realization or spiritual knowledge and material knowledge. Spiritual knowledge will survive the time and changes in the body and the mind. Material knowledge will get destroyed with the changes in the body and the mind. Therefore, Acharya says to us that don't give too much importance to material knowledge. Material knowledge will not, is going to last anyway. One day it's going to go. It cannot stay. Because avastha, it is also subjected to avastha trend. That means Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushupti, and childhood, boyhood, youth, old age, just changes in the body, changes in the body, changes in the mind will affect all the knowledge what you acquire in the material world. Whereas changes in the body, changes in the mind will not touch the realization of the self. That is the big difference, self-realization. So, in the Yoga Vasishta Maharshi says to Ramchandra, Ramchandra is 16 years old at that time, and a stage Ramchandra had no interest in this world. He had no interest in this world. He wanted to withdraw from the world, move away from the world, and no taste to do anything. He was a prince. He has not been put on the throne yet. And often Ramchandra used to go and sit alone without getting involved in this world. He liked the solitude at that time. So Vasishta Maharshi says to Ramchandra that youth is like a river. It's flowing through this body. Youth just flows through the body. Therefore, when it's there, you should utilize it, because it is the best time. And Vasishta Maharshi encouraged Ramchandra to be like that, in that state, to live in solitude. Ramchandra says to Vasishta, Yavanam or you is a beautiful period, you are saying like that. But Ramchandra says to Vasishta that in my opinion it's the most difficult time, he says to Ramchandra, because it's a very depressing state, he said. So you te dhanyaham te mahalma nanute eva purusha bhuvike sukhena samudirnaha sadhu vai sankara. This Yavanam means you, he states here, that is like an ocean of misery, Ramchandra says here. And without getting hurt in that youth, one who is able to, that means without disturbing, without spoiling his life, to cross over that life in this world, the youth, is very, very difficult. One who was able, succeeded in doing that, he is a Mahatma, his life is a success, Ramchandra says, and he is a Tapasvi. You can see our greatest problem is that in life, that youth is the worst problem time, isn't it? Because although physically and mentally, at bodily level and mental platform, it is in a good shape, but at the same time, it creates other problems. It doesn't take us to spiritual life. On the other hand, it's more looking for sense gratification. So therefore Ramchandra says to him, why are you glorifying this youth? Ramchandra says this to Vasishta. There is nothing worse than this, he says. I am finding it very, very difficult, Ramchandra says. And wherever I look in all directions is danger. That's what I find, Ramchandra says. And Nishayani Asha Pishachika, like a devil is all around, he says. Why? These devils are desires. He's talking about the desires. So Ramchandra asked Vasishta, what is this happiness in this youth you are talking to me? So what is the reason, he says. And not only that, this happiness, whatever you are experiencing in the youth, after a while it will leave you also. When you think about that, that itself is a distress. And then all you are trying to do is any way you can keep it going. That happiness what you got in the youth. And ultimately it goes away. So what is the reason behind it? Then that Ramchandra says to Vasishta at that time, as long as I am identifying with the body, and as long as the body is continuously changing, I am also changing. When I am identifying with the body, when the body is changing, I am also changing a kind of Brahman. Brahman means an illusion develops within me. You can see that when we go through the youth, as we get older, because our identification with the body is strong. When body is changing, I feel I am changing. We tell others, isn't it? I am an old man, or I am helpless about it. I can't bother about it because I am too old. I can't do this. I can't. Why all this? Because when identification through the body. That's what he is saying here. In reality, am I changing? And am I something that changes? No. Krishna is saying, no, you don't change. Is it possible to change? No, it's not possible to change. That's also not possible. So, just like we gave this example that 80-year-old granddad, he has taken a video of his childhood. And he's showing to his grandchild, look at me when I was your age, and shows the video to the child. Child looks at that and says to the granddad, this is not you, he says. Granddad says, it's me. Look at that again, it's me, he says. So the child is not accepting that. So therefore, child is saying to him, you don't look like that anymore. You don't look like that anymore. It's only the child doesn't know that. So the granddad has actually not changed. The person is the same, but what has changed is the body, isn't it? Body has changed, awareness has not changed, our bodhana has not changed. Now he is 8 years old and same person, but inside him, you can see in a subtle level, he knows he has not changed. He knows he has not changed. So, why? Because we all know that we are that vastu which doesn't change. We are that vastu which doesn't change. And we all know very well that what has changed is, I have not changed. Because awareness has not changed. Our awareness has not changed. What has changed is the body. So from this, what we have to understand is, self-realization is not something that we have to get. Because this awareness, where is it coming from? It's coming from the self. It's coming from the self. And as much you can see, although the body has changed, mind has changed, intelligence has changed, ego has changed, awareness has not changed. Similarly, realizing that self, that knowledge of the self, or becoming that realized state, is also an unchanging activity. Is also an unchanging activity. That is something which you cannot get by work, rather it has to happen within. It has to happen within. That's what mentions here. That the only problem is that identification with the body and the mind hasn't left us. So the realization is already there inside us that I don't change. It's already there in us. When Krishna is saying to us, Dehinosmin yadha dehe kaumaram yoganam jara tata dehandaram praktir dhira satranga mukhyati, in the second chapter, isn't it? So Dehi has no change. Deham changes, isn't it? Deham changes, Dehi doesn't change. It is not for intellectual understanding, it is meant for realization inside. Tadha dehandara praptir dhira satranga mukhyati. How will that come? How will that realization come? Realization come in this way. Observe with this particular example. That when the old man, at his old age, at the age of 80, he is showing his childhood in the video to the grandchild and asking the child to see, look at me, how I was at your age. So why is he able to say that it's me? Because he knows very well that he hasn't changed. What has changed is the body, but the child doesn't understand that. Child is seeing in terms of the body. Child says to the granddad, you have changed. Granddad is changing. It is me. I have not changed. Body has changed, but I have not changed. Where is that knowledge coming from? It's coming from the soul. It's coming from the soul. From self-realization. That's where it's coming from. That self-realization is there. Now and then you will see the reflection of that in our activities in this world. That is the important point. So then, actually, consciousness of the body, we spoke about yesterday. Nobody has consciousness of the body. Body and consciousness cannot stay together. Body and consciousness cannot stay together. Consciousness is for the soul. Consciousness and consciousness cannot have a body, and body cannot have consciousness. What body has got is ego, not consciousness. What body has got is consciousness, but body has got ego. That is what we have. Sharira Bodham is not Sharira Bodham, it is Sharira Abhimana. When we analyze these things properly, you will come to understand yourself. You will see that what Krishna talks about makes sense. It's not something theoretically we hold on in our brain. That's no use. Krishna is analytically telling us that Shariram or material body has no consciousness. Material body has no consciousness. The consciousness is coming from the soul. And consciousness cannot have the body. What we have got is not consciousness, rather it is the bodily identity or ego. That's what we have got. Bodily identity, identification with the body, which is called ego. That's what we have got. That's what we have got. So we'll stop there for 2 minutes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare. So, coming back to this point, that body does not have consciousness. Consciousness does not have a body. What body has got is abhimanam or sharira abhimanam, bodily identity or ego. That's what body has got. Body thinks ego is there in us, but there is no identification with that ego. That is what makes us think that we are that body. And therefore, when changes happens in the body, I consider that it is a change in me. It's a change that's happening in me. So, and similarly, if somebody worships the body, he thinks it's my worship. It is my worship. So, and similarly, if something good has happened to the body, I think something good has happened to me. So, all this is mixed up in our present state, isn't it? Chaitanyam and Jadam, two things are mixed up. That's what is happening. That this mixing up business we are talking about. Chaitanyam is the soul inside. Jadam is rest everything, and that is mixed up. So, Deham, Krishna says Deham. And similarly, when the body dies, we think we are dead. Due to identification with the body, all these things happen. Even when the body dies, we think we die. We die. Actually, I am that object which has no death. There is no death for me as far as Bhagavad-gita is concerned, isn't it? But, and at the same time, that on the one hand, we are experiencing death, on the other hand, we also know there is no death for us, isn't it? Sometimes, and when we get that hint from the soul, that is the time when we understand that there is something wrong here. On the one hand, we think that when you are identifying with the body, you are experiencing the death. When you are identifying with the soul, you realize that you have no death. And that does happen in everyone's life. At some point it does happen. That he's not always thinking that death is there, because that is only the reason when somebody dies and when you go to the funeral, you are not feeling still the fear of death. Why? Because the soul inside is not allowing you to fall into that identification with the body. Therefore, you are able to come out from the funeral without any, not much of a distress. You forget it very easily, isn't it? And this is the reason behind it. That because you know that there is no death for the soul, and the soul also gives this information to us or intimation to us from inside that you are a vastu which has no death. Remember in the Mahabharata that Yaksha Prasna. Yaksha Prasna means there the discussion happens between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Yaksha. Yaksha comes to him and asks him, what is the most amazing thing? So he mentions there, Ahanyahani Bhudani Yachanni cha Himalayam Kesham Stavaram Yachanni Kim Ascharya Madakaram. What is the Ascharya? What is the amazing thing in this world? The amazing thing is not that people are not taking notice of the death. Most of the people understand that verse in that way. Ahanyahani Bhudani, let's go through that verse. Ahanyahani Bhudani Gachanti Himalayam. Continuously you are saying people are leaving this world. Death is coming and people are leaving this world. Shesham Savaram Ichandi. Others are thinking that I would like to stay back here. And he says, Krishna Sakim Ascharya Madakaram. What an amazing thing that is, says Yudhishthira Maharaj to Yaksha. Yaksha said, yes, that is the most interesting thing. But where is that coming from? This thought that I want to stay back here because I know inside there is no such thing called death for me. That is the most amazing thing. When we are in connection, when you are identifying with on the spiritual platform, there is no death. When you are identifying with the body, there is death. So, due to lower modes of nature, or due to any other reason, if we fall into the bodily identity, you have to suffer death. You have to suffer death. But if somehow or the other, if you take your attention away from the body and it falls on the soul, or in other words, when self-realization happens, there is no death after that. There is no death after that. So, sometimes people say, they watch others who are dying in this world and they will say with pride that how many people have I gone and seen like this? I have sent them off from this world. They say like this. That how many people I have said goodbye to them in the same crematorium. Yes. How many people have I seen gone? They have left this world in this way. And still, he's not feeling that he has got to die. He's not feeling that. So, what is the greatest wonder in that? So, when we think about this, when somebody tells you this, you will think at that time and you may smile about it. Oh, I never thought like that I have to die. Somebody has to remind you at that time. So, many people, you can see that it is a reality, that bhava, that mood you see there. But normally people explain this in this way. People are not even feeling very much concerned about the death. But if you think about this, why we don't feel it? Why? That's what we have to think about. Why we don't feel it? No matter how much you are frightened about the death, every day you are seeing some serious, lot of death happens, isn't it? In fact, you see like this shooting happened in Norway recently, isn't it? One man went and shot 70-80 people all over. Like a few days ago, in Colorado they killed quite 12-15 people or something like that. We read all that and it comes and goes after that. Sometimes we'll say a few statements people will make and the very people who are living there, they will also forget. It's not going to stay there forever. Well, how is that possible? That such a horrible thing has happened in front of them and for a very short period of time it remains in the memory. It's not going to stay there forever. It will be there for a very short period of time. Few months gone, everything will be forgotten, and then they may remember. It will be all in the memory only. Those who have left this world. Why is it like that? Because of this. That the soul inside, he will not allow you to hold on to that forever. He will not allow you to do that. Because of his nature is like that. He is eternal. Somehow or the other, if we can get that state of consciousness inside us, then the fear of death goes away. There is no death after that. That is all spirituality is about. That if we can get that, soul is already giving us the intimation from inside. It is possible to get that state. Otherwise, this death, what has happened in this way, through the shooting and other things, it should remain such a big, it should create such a concern in the society, isn't it? But even that doesn't happen. It is continuously happening all the time, one after the other. One place or the other, somewhere in the world. It's always happening, these things. But very soon, the society is able to forget it and move on from there. How is that happening? It is not by any other means, it's only due to the power of the soul inside. The soul is giving the intimation, you have actually no death. Once that, and that happens in everyone's life. It's not only in a few people's, everybody's case. Sometimes, why none of us are experiencing the fear of death? Because of this, that the soul's intimation from inside, that you are not a product that experiences death. You are not a vastu that experiences death. So that is why that beyond that substance which has no death, that is the realization that has to happen within. We are that substance which has no death. But everybody knows that. So that fear of death, where does it come? It comes into Chittavritti. In the Chittavritti it comes. Only in the subtle body, in the thought wave form it comes and it goes. It's not coming from the soul, that fear. It's only coming inside the subtle body as a thought wave, and it comes and it goes away from there. It cannot stay because no Chittavritti can stay permanently inside. That is the reason behind it. So on the other hand, the spurti of my awareness of my existence, which is coming from the soul, never goes away. To compare the two things. On the one hand, the fear of death that is coming in, it comes and goes, comes and goes. When you hear somebody close to you die, immediately you get a shock. Very short time it's in the memory, it's gone, isn't it? It cannot stay permanently. On the other hand, your identification with this awareness that I am avabodham, Sandrananda avabodhalpanam, avabodham. As I mentioned before, Brahman has two aspects, isn't it? Anandam and avabodham. In the Bhagavatam mentions there as Shabda Brahman and Parabrahman. Two ways it is spoken there. So, Brahman's feature is these two, Anandam and avabodham. If we get to that identity, that is when you don't feel the fear of death. When you identify with the body, you feel the fear of death. You feel the fear of death. So, one thing is that awareness inside us, my existence, I am always there, I don't die. In other words, I am there and I am existing. That doesn't leave us very easily like the way the fear of death has left. You cannot get rid of it from you, even if you want to. Or if you fear your existence, this awareness of your existence, you can't get rid of even if you want to. Whereas the fear of death, you can get rid of if you want to. That is the important thing. Fear of death you can get rid of because it's losing all the time. Somebody say, for example, someone in the family who died 30, 40 years ago, in your own life, if you look back, it is all completely in the memory. You can't even bring back even 1% of the distress what you felt then today if you want to. You just start smiling at it at that time. Thinking about that, distress you felt at that point has no meaning anymore. You started realizing yourself. So where is that coming from? It's coming from that awareness. Awareness is making you always feel that you exist. The death is saying that no, you don't, you die. So as long as the identification is with the body, you die. As long as the identification is from the soul, you don't die. This is all what Parikshit was Parikshit was told by Shri. This is the one thing, he brought him to that stage and put this message inside. That's the end of it. After that nothing happens, isn't it? Evam, that is what is called Samikshan. Evam Samikshan Atmanam Atmanyadhaya Nishkare, he says. Atmanyadhaya Nishkare. Evam Samikshan, it is not in the mind, it's not in the intelligence, it is realization it has happened. Realization it has happened. So actually, because at that time there is no identification with the body, it is easier. And if you leave identification with the body, it's easier. But if you start thinking with your intelligence, it's difficult. This is another interesting thing. Through intellectually, if you try to get that, you won't get it. It's still difficult. Because there again you are doing the same mistake. You are identifying with the body, or you are identifying with the intelligence, or you are identifying with the mind. So, therefore, it is mentioned like this, that this identification of the body, you don't have to give it away. You don't have to throw it away. What has to happen is, you have to know what you are, that's all. It's not that you have to throw away something and get something. You have to get something, the other thing will go in a natural way. That means, if your realization is proper, in the proper way if you have realized it, then that ignorance, understanding of body, mind and intelligence will naturally go from inside. So this is the principle behind Vedanta. Vedanta is based on this understanding that if we have that matured intelligence, pakwada, or maturity inside, easily it is possible that realization must happen. If there is maturity inside, that maturity takes time to come to that maturity. Message is not a big thing, but to get to that mature state is the most difficult thing due to our previous karma vasanas and impurities inside. So you will see here that in relationship with that hearing, how powerful the hearing process is to understand. Shuka Brahmarshi did not do any sadhana, isn't it? In 7 days' time, what did he hear? He heard about the soul. That's what has happened with him. That is what has happened with him. So, this hearing process has this powerful effect that nothing is replacing there. All it's doing is that it's put you in your proper identity. That's all what it does. Proper identity. That's what it does. So, Vivek Sudan mentions this, that Uktumarthamida Varmani Swayam Bhavayet Pratidayukti Mintyaya Samshayadi Rahidam Karam Bhuvat Tena Tattvadigami Bhavishyati. That is one of the verses in the Vivek Chudamani. Ajari Swami mentions about this realization. He says, Uktomarthamimam Atmani Swayam, that this truth, what we are talking about, Bhavaye Pradidam Yukti Mitheya, Bhavaye Pradidam Yukti Mitheya. One in his bhava, that means in his own bhava means in his own sankalpa, he should bring it in. This, by constantly analyzing these connection with the soul and the body, that has to be analyzed very well inside. Anyone who wants to realize the truth, he has to analyze this connection between the soul and the body in the proper way. He has to analyze it. Then samshaya virahidam karam bhavad. If he does that, he says that using his mind, he should use his mind, intelligence also, and by means of the recognized arguments. There are proper arguments for that. In Jnanamargam, that's there. So through this argument process and by the instructions from the great realized souls who are talking to us about our identity all the time, he's saying here, one will realize the doubt, samshayadi rahidam kanambuva. Beyond doubt, he will realize it himself. Tena tattu nigami bhavishyati. Like the water in the palm of one's hand. That means it is such an easy process, he says. Because we don't devote time for this self-realization and we don't give attention to the words of the great personalities, we use our own process to realize the truth, and that's where things find it difficult. We have to, that is why Shastram is necessary. If you reject Shastram and think that I will do all these things and eventually one day it is going to happen, it may not happen. Only going through this process it can happen. What Shastram teaching us is, look, this is the connection with the body and the soul in different circumstances. And body, mind, intelligence, ego, they are all your things which are happening inside you. They are subjected to change all the time, isn't it? Avasthatrayam. Whether it is mind, whether it is body, doesn't matter. Mind goes through Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushupti, waking state, dream state, deep sleep. Body goes through boyhood, youthhood, old age, and then death. So change there also. So changes in the body, changes in the mind is not happening to me. If you look in Bhagavatam also, realized personalities, what did they say at the end? They only have to say one thing: I am that changeless substance inside. So therefore, he says here also that the so this properly, if one continuously hear about the soul and if we engage in the Artha-vichara means if you absorb in that and give enough time for it, it is possible that this realization will come. It has to come. We sometimes think that Bhakti Yogam is easier than Jnana Yogam. There is a misunderstanding about it. Bhakti Yogam is very simple, we said. Jnana Yogam is very difficult. Actually, both are difficult. That is the correct way to understand that. Bhakti Yogam, sadhana may be easier in Bhakti Yogam. But as far as realization is concerned, it is as difficult as the Jnana Yogam also. In Bhakti Yogam, what is required is surrender. You have to be so surrendered that the material nature cannot give you any more distress. You are so surrendered to Krishna. That stage has to come. In Jnana Yogam, Shraddha is necessary. Shraddha is behind the Jnanam and Sharanagati or surrender is behind Bhakti. Is behind Bhakti. That is the whole principle behind it. So either way, if you are surrendered like Uttaradevi or Mahabali, yes, it can happen. It's a devotee. But others like Bhishma and so many others, they were all linked with Jnana, isn't it? Jnana Margam was there, even among the gopis. You will see Nakala Gopigam, Andano Bhavan, Akila Dehinam, and the Alpantrik, Vishana Samtito, Vishwaguptai. Gopis are saying that. So if you feel that to get that clarity inside, to filter, to get the truth, sometimes people ask this question that in my earlier days in spiritual life you have done a lot of wrong things. Now you are doing the right thing, isn't it? People ask that question. No, you can never say you are doing the right thing. What actually happening is, at every stage, you are filtering out your avidya from inside. In early days in spiritual life also, when we first started our spiritual life, we had a lot of other ignorance, other kinds of ignorance. You get that filtered through, and then you move on, and various other kinds of ignorance is getting filtered out. And that is how you get closer. When you become more inward looking, it gets closer to the truth. It's not that now everything is perfect and then it was not perfect. No. It was not perfect then, it is not perfect now also. It gets perfect when realization comes. Self-realization happens. Till then it's not perfect. It's all filtering it out, the ignorance inside, at some different stages. So when it comes out like that, So, we are thinking that this self-realization will happen in one day like that. It is not like that, and we also think I have to do a lot of sadhana for that, and through a process, one day, like a flash, the realization comes out from within. That is not how it is going to happen. That's a fantasy. In Bhakti-margam also we have that same fantasy, that I will continue doing my sadhana, and one day it's going to happen. Or suddenly the flight is going to come for me to go to the spiritual world. In this illusion we go on doing it, isn't it? And same thing in Jnana-margam also. We are thinking one day it's going to happen, that self-realization is going to happen from inside. No, it won't happen. It happens in this way, that the process one has to follow through. That means that's a kind of a romantic imagination it is. That is going to happen in that way. So that is a bhavana vastu. In your imagination all these things happen. So if it is like that, self-realization, if in that way self-realization is going to come, it will go also, it won't stay. If self-realization has happened in that way, anything that comes, it has to go in that way. So, because whichever has got to come, it has to go. That is the principle in spiritual life. So, whereas our vastusthiti means our identity is not something that has to come from anywhere. It's already there. This we have to be very clear in ourselves. You know, when we don't take these things seriously, like a student going to school, if you take spiritual knowledge like that, it will not work. It will not work. We have to be very clear that our vastusthiti means my identity is already there. Nothing has to come from outside. Nothing has to come from outside. Already it is there. Why? Due to my ashraddha. Ashraddha means for lack of attention. My lack of attention, I have lost that identity. My proper identity, I have lost it. That's all it has happened. So, self-realization is not that something you have to achieve by or to get something. It's already there. Sakshatkaram is already there. What is the proof? Proof is this. What is the proof? Proof is this, that nobody is feeling that they will die. That's the proof. That is the proof. Because no matter how much you convince people, that's a thing called death, then somebody is telling us from inside, there is no such thing called death. Is it not? That is a practical thing in everyone's life. Even if people tell you so much about death, and so many deaths happening all around, from inside the message is coming that that is not reality. That is not it. Reality, that is the proof. And that is the proof that self-realization is not something that has to come from outside. It's not to come from outside, it's already there in everyone. In everyone. It is just like that. So, but what is happening is, no matter how much you get convinced about death, somebody is saying from inside there is no such thing called death. There is no such thing called death. When it comes to the bodily level, bodily consciousness, when it comes, it is called avidya. When we keep saying avidya, ajnanam, ignorance, this is what it means. That message was coming from the soul that there is no death. As soon as you come to the bodily level, it turns out to be what is called avidya. That's what avidya. Avidya or ignorance it is referred to. So, and if you remove this identity that I am not this body, and immediately you have that realization. But we have to come to that state, sharira bhava, identification with the body has to go. Body standing there, that's all. You have nothing to do with this body. But our attention is on the body, and if the attention goes away from the body, then the body will not give you trouble anymore. It cannot give you any more trouble. What is the reason? Because body is not yours. You remember these three things? I am not this body, body is not mine, body is not meant for my enjoyment. These three things has to happen in realization inside. It is not good enough if you realize that I am not this body. That's not good enough. Because you also have to know body is not mine. And you also have to realize what is not meant for my enjoyment. That is where when you completely take away the identification with the body from inside. That is how that identity goes away from within. So, so here you can see that body actually is not ours. Body belongs to material nature, isn't it? Material nature didn't consult us when we got this body. We had no choice what kind of body we wanted. It was just given to us. Is it not? And where to, what kind of body, white body, black body, yellow body, whatever body, nothing was consulted when it was given to us. We were just given and told that this is your body, take it. And we took it, and that day onwards we started identification with the body also start in the same way. So without any, and also you can see that when changes are happening in the body, you are not consulted. It's not with your permission changes are happening in the body. Body keeps on changing and you are not affected by, you are not aware of any changes that's happening in the body unless you look into the mirror every few years and then you start seeing, yes, something has changed in the body. Otherwise changes in the body is not known to you, nor the body was given to you with your consent that the body was given to you. And similarly, that you can also notice that according to the plan of the material nature, material nature's plan, or accordingly, this body will stay like this for a while and it will drop. Like any other tree is standing there. The tree is standing there for a certain period of time. It gets old, one day it drops down and goes. And this body is very much like that. This understanding is important because otherwise, we start thinking that, oh body, I am looking after my body, I am looking after my body, I am looking after my body. We keep saying this. But no, it is not for you to look after this body, that is not in your control because the person who gave this body, he has to look after. Material nature has to look after this body. So here you can see here that it belongs to, people ask this question, then suppose we say, that I don't have an identification with the body and starting, but if I give you a pinch, you feel the pain, won't you? They will ask that question. Yes, you will feel the pain. But who is feeling the pain? The mind is experiencing the pain, not you. Not you. Because neither the mind nor the body is you. You are not either the body or the mind. And similarly, the place where you get pinched, that place, and the place where you feel the pain is not you. Neither the place where you get pinched, nor the place where you experience the pain is you. Isn't it? The pain, the pinching has happened in the body and the pain is experienced in the mind. Neither of them is your identity. Is your identity. So, the people who ask this question, they haven't understood this relationship between body and the self. Once we completely understand that the self cannot be touched by any of these things, and if by proper analysis, like through the Vedanta philosophically understanding, if it gets properly established inside, that my relationship with the body is in this way, like the way Vedanta talks about it. And by cultivating that knowledge, eventually that relationship with the body breaks up. With the body breaks up. So, and this we should know that the place where you are disturbed in the body and the place where you are experiencing the distress in the body, neither of them is your identity, nor the body nor the mind, isn't it? So, then is the question, who am I then? What's my identity? Where am I? And that means I have to first thing I have to do is to get introduced to myself. I have to get introduced to myself first. Because I don't know who I am yet at the moment. I don't know who I am at the moment, isn't it? For a long time I identified with the body. For some time I identified with the mind. And that's the way the life is going on day after day. Either at the bodily level or at the mental level. Never the identification with the soul. So it is in that state that always I am saying I am. That awareness we are talking about. And that thing, if you little bit deeply look into it, you can see that that where is this coming from? That's Spurana. Spurana means that ray, where it is telling us that this awareness is telling us that there is no such thing called death inside. And that is in everyone. That is in everyone. And this is the one we have spoken about before also, that Ya Tiryam Naradeo Virahamityandaspuda Grihyate Yalbhasa Hridaye Kshade Harshaya Bhanti Swato Chetana Tam Bhasi Vihidartha Mandala Nibham Spurthim Sada Bhavayin Yogi Nurvudamana Sohi Gurumi Esha Manisha Hama. This is from the famous Manisha Mantra. Manisha Mantra, 5 verses spoken about ourselves. About ourselves spoken. What is that? Who am I? That question answering. Ya Tiryang Naradevad Ahamityandaspuda Grihyate. Tiryang means the birds who have got a body in an angular way, and human body, demigod's body. In all these bodies, all the time they have this awareness. I am. Demigod is thinking I am a demigod. We are thinking I am a human being. The bird is also identifying with its body, animal also identifying with its body. So everybody identifies with one type of body, whatever body it is, it doesn't matter. He says here, Ya Tiryam Naradevavi Ahamityandaspuda Grihyate. That even though you are identifying with various kinds of bodies, Spuda Grihyate, very clearly inside at the same time, Yal Bhasa Hridaya Kshade Harshaya Bhanti Swato Chetana. The Chetana, or in other words, the living force inside, is constantly reminding you also that this body is not yours. This body is not yours. This body is not yours. You see, when in spiritual life, initially we may come to the spiritual life with full identification with the body, isn't it? Everybody comes to spiritual life with full identification with the body. But as much as the spiritual understanding gets better, attachment to the body will go. It has to go. It cannot stay anymore. Because the truth is that is the truth, and that you can't change. Even if you try to identify with the body, from inside Krishna will tell you, you are not that body. That will happen. That is how in Mahalpa's case, big, great personalities, jnanis, yogis and devotees also, when they start seeing this identification with the body slowly disappearing from within. How does that disappear? Mentions here. Atyanda Spuda Grihyate. Because Spudam is there. Spudam means that he knows from inside, not from outside. From inside he knows. Yalbhasa. It is always illumination coming from the soul. It is not that soul is inert and dead inside. Soul is functioning. Just like in the presence of the soul, all the senses are functioning. Eyes are seeing, ears are hearing, tongue is tasting, nose is smelling, skin is touching. All these experiences of the different senses are happening due to the presence of the soul. Equally, due to the presence of the soul, this rays of knowledge, relationship with the soul, is also emitting from inside. Only thing is, if we don't stop it, it will work. How do we stop it? By our rubbish things, what we do in this world. By more and more entangling with various things in this world, increasing the chittavati. One great realized soul used to say that, how will I realize the truth? He says the truth is already there. You are standing against that. That's what we are doing. What we have to come out of that, that's what is required. Don't stay against that, then it will not happen. The soul very often releases this realization from within, always making us aware that the body is not me. Body is not mine. It's not my body. I'm not this body. Body is not mine. And also made me realize the way things happen in life, that anything you try to do with this body, eventually body makes you distressed at the end. Isn't it? Any kind of happiness you are trying to experience through this body, eventually ends up in distress. Why is it? Because it's not meant for your enjoyment. That's why it is. That is the reason behind it. That's why these three things, I'm not this body, body is not mine, body is not meant for enjoyment. If this understanding is very deeply embedded inside, not in the mind or brain, in realization, you have escaped from the body. You are free from the... That's a yadbhasa, hridaya, kshadeha, kshaya, bhandi, swato, chetana, tam bhase, vihitanka mandala nibham, spurthim sada bhavayan yogi, nirvudana sohi, gurividyesha, manisha, mama. Then at that point in time, what's happening to him, he says here, that he cannot, the spudam means this from inside, that spurti coming, aham, awareness, that it is always there, then is coming out, and when it comes out, you can see here that our creation itself, if you look, only in the human body we have this special facility given, isn't it? Why compare to an animal's body or a bird's body? We have been created in a vertical way. There is no other living entities created in that way, like we have been created. They all have their, in a horizontal level, their bodily feature. This, like you take a monkey on two hands and 2 legs, it stands there on a horizontal level. It has got its head, then everything else follows that. The heart, the stomach, and the rectum, everything in one line like this. In the birds it is like that, in angular position. Only in the human body it is in a vertical way it's created. The reason being, they're saying that we are supposed to operate with this more than anything else. With the head. Not with the stomach, not with the heart, but with the head. If that's where everything, in order to keep this going, all the other bottom ones has to be maintained to that extent what is necessary. So Tiryak means that level, but that animals as well as the human body, demigod's body, it doesn't matter which kind of body it is, whether it is human body or animal body or bird's body, whatever it is. This awareness, aham spudam ruhyate, that aham, that awareness is always there in all species, in all living entities. All species, all living entities, that awareness of one's existence is always there. That you can't take it away from a bird or an animal or an elephant or anything. All of them have got that. So here, so that is what is called a spudam. That spudam, it is mentioned there. If you can see this, you go into a new street, for example, and there's a dog standing there, and the dog, if he sees you, he barks at you. He's thinking, why you come to my place? If the dog looks at you, it's not like that. So if you look into the dog's eyes at that time, even the dog is thinking its identity. I am here. The dog is also thinking, I am here. I am. But I am has not left the dog either. So if you are a familiar person with the dog's mood changes, isn't it? It changes its mood. So who is changing that mood? The soul inside that dog. It changes that mood. Where is that change coming from? Because you can see here that a bird or a mosquito or an ant, in all of them, this spuranam means this purti or spudam is there in everyone. Every living entity has got that awareness inside of me, I am. Awareness is existing. So, as long as that awareness is inside, its body, its mind, its senses will all work. They will all work as long as that awareness is inside. yeah, it will engage in what is called vyavaharam. It will engage in different kinds of transactions. Sometimes you can see birds carrying sugar. The ants carrying the sugar. Little by little it carries from one place to another, isn't it? Ants do that. So you observe that they are also busy, keep going themselves, doing something. So, and sometimes animals also experience joy in different ways. They experience their joy. So, we, on the other hand, that in the similar way, we are also not getting surprised that doctor is telling to us somebody has died and gives us a certificate. But if the person gets up from the death after dying, he gets up and walks, that will be a great surprise to us. Isn't it? That will be the greatest surprise. That will be the greatest surprise. Why is it like that? Sometimes when somebody dies, the doctor certifies, you're not feeling any surprise about that. Why? Because the soul inside knows very well body is meant to go. It knows, that's why you're not surprised. Whereas, if a person gets up after death and walks out, that will be the greatest surprise in this world. If one gets up after death. So Ashok Ramendra mentioned this. He said, Akhadita Kadana Padiyasi Maya. About Maya, while talking about, he says, if there is one surprise in this world, which is the most surprising thing to anyone, is not this what Yudhishthira Maharaj told the Yaksha, that people are, this is the most surprise. No, there is a higher surprise than that. What is that? If somebody died and you certified he is dead, if he gets up and starts walking, that will be the greater surprise than that. Isn't it? Why is it like that? Because you see, pure knowledge is in the soul. Soul knows that a dead one cannot wake up again. The body has gone, and this awareness is already there inside. It doesn't have to come from the world outside. Nobody has to teach us. Before these schools and colleges were started, people were still dying, and people still knew that once you are dead, you won't come back. You don't have to do an experiment on that all over the world. That check with everyone, will he come back, will he come back? No, it is a known thing. Once you are dead, you won't come back. Why? That is the nature of the body. So these fundamentals in relationship with the body can never change. It can never change. Although scientists are telling us that one day they will change it, but we'll have to wait and see when that day comes, isn't it? When that day comes, we will see. But till now it hasn't happened. But the reality is this emitting, this Spudam or Puranam, what they mentions there, what is this Puranam? This is all the Puranam that is coming from the soul. That body has to die. Soul never dies, which is me, will never die. Only in Ajnana, Avidya, when I have fallen into the bodily level and I identify with the body, I die. When I am in identification with the soul, there is absolutely no necessity to be fear of death. And that is what self-realization means. All these things are simple things, but because we have been educated in the wrong way, therefore it becomes more difficult. That is why it is difficulty. We have been trained to think in another way. If your train of thought was not in that way, rather this way, this is not a very difficult subject. Therefore now it has become more difficult because you have got used to thinking in one way and you have to change the whole train of thought to come back to think in this way. It's not a big technology involved in this where you require a lot of mind and brain function here. What is required here is Shraddha. That is what Shraddha means. Shraddha means that what you have acquired previously in the wrong way, false knowledge, and you have conditioned and trained your way of thinking or way of assimilating the knowledge, that has to go. And when Shraddha comes, what happens? That Shastrasya, Guru Vakyasya, Satya Buddhyavadharana. We start thinking in the way Shastra thinks. We start thinking in the way Guru thinks. Satya Buddhi. In that our Satya Buddhi now is the way we have been trained from the schools and colleges, which is not Satya Buddhi, which is Asatya Buddhi it is. Because it has injected a lot of avidya inside.
But once that avidya goes away, Satyabuddhi comes in, what will happen? Satyabuddhyavadarana in Shastram and Guruvakyam, Sa Shraddha. Shraddha has come to that person. That is what it means. So here, so Achetana means that there is no Chetana, Jadavastu. That is not only body, mind, senses, intelligence. All of them are Jadavathartham. Jadavathartham means dead matter. In the middle of all that, I am that spurti, that ray of knowledge is coming out from inside. And so long as it is there, so that we are conducting various vyavaharam, transactions in this world, isn't it? So that's spurti, tam bhase vihida kanipam. That, and we started identifying with that identification with that mind, body, senses in that way, and what will that destroys the changes the intelligence. That changes the intelligence. At the moment, that spurti that is coming from inside, I am identifying with that. And you can see this if you look into any body, anyone who has got a body, you can see that. That's why you can see that person's identification or I am, that awareness in the eyes of that person. You can notice it. That's why when you look at somebody's eyes, immediately you see that person really through the eyes. Through the eyes. So apparently they are saying that is the reason the I and the I is one. The I and the I is the same thing. They are not different. They are not different. Because this only, that I, that I-ness in one comes through the eyes. Comes through the eyes. You can see I with the eye. You can see the I with the eye in everyone. So there, so that is why it is called that through that way, they also say spiritually we call it as Prajna Netram. Prajna Netram means Bodha Chakshusya. You see, sometimes we say Shastra Chakshusya, isn't it? Shastra Chakshusya. Similarly, Jnanis call it as Bodha Chakshusya. Bodha Chakshusya means why Bodham, awareness is given called in the terms of an eye. Why it's referred to as an eye? Because Ya Chakshushi Purushaha Drishyate, Upanishad says like that. Upanishad says, Purusha inside, the person inside, he sees through this that if when he looks at a person, he sees that person's existence or identity through the eyes. Identity through the eyes. Through the eyes. It is a Upanishad statement. Upanishads are telling us that when you look at someone's eyes, through the eye you will experience that person's existence. That person's existence of awareness. You can experience through the another person's eyes. Now, that is something which has to come through practice. But normally people don't look at others' eyes, isn't it? Turn somewhere else and all. So therefore you won't get to know about it. So, anyway, coming back to this. Here, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Samprapte, Samvihite Kare, Mahimahi, Rakshani, Sudhukari Karani, mentions here. And he also mentions there, Balastaval, that's where we started this. Balastaval, Rila Saktaha, Tarunastaval, Taruni Saktaha, Vruddhastaval, Chinna Saktaha, Pare Brahmani, Phogina Saktaha. This topic you may find sometimes a little bit boring because it's not story, it's not katha, it is the truth. So that's why it's boring. If it's katha, we don't get bored. We can hear katha for a long time. But when truth is spoken from the Upanishads, you can see how people find it difficult to relate with that. That is why it has to be spoken in the katha form. That's how katha has come. Truth is very simple and direct, that is. In Upanishads, There is no katha there. It's all directly spoken the truth. So, you can see in another way to put it. We are having our vision due to the presence of the sunlight. Eyes and sunlight, isn't it? Both are necessary for the vision required. And we say, because of the sun's light, we are able to see. We sometimes say, the cloud has covered the sun. Cloud has covered the sun. That is not the correct statement. The correct statement is, due to the light of the sun, we are seeing the cloud. In the Bhaja Govindam it is spoken. You will see in the 10th canto, Shuka Brahmashi mentions, while talking about this, he says it's a wrong statement, he says. To say that the cloud is covered, normally what do we say from here, looking from here, we see the cloud has covered the sky, the sky has covered the sun. We say like that, isn't it? No. He says, you should start from the other side, not from this side. Actually, what the cloud is getting, we seeing the cloud because of the sun's presence behind. We are seeing the cloud. Both ways you can say this, isn't it? You can say this both ways. You can see the cloud covering the sun, and you can also see the sun showing the cloud to us. So both ways you can say this. Similarly, inside us, all of us, lust, anger, greed, and all kinds of emotions exist. They come like these clouds and they go. Come like these clouds and you go. And they go. But when we are experiencing that, they don't come and cover the soul, but due to the presence of the soul only, we are experiencing them. The comparison between the cloud and the sun is like that. That just like clouds are not there, clouds are seen because of the sun. Similarly, due to the presence of the soul inside, we experience lust, anger, greed, and so many other things. At the moment, how do we understand? We think that, oh, I got a lot of anger, I got a lot of lust or greed or envy or jealousy, whatever bad qualities, and I have to get rid of them. I'm saying like that, isn't it? I say it like that. So that spurti inside, the soul inside, because of his presence there, this our Bodha Mandalam, Anubhava Mandalam, which is this thing, Anubhava Mandalam is the clouds. That means all these different bad thoughts or bad emotions, what we are experiencing here, it is covered. It is Anubhava Mandalam. They come one after the other. All the different emotions, they come, and it covers this field of experience. Anubhava Mandalam. It covers the field of experience. In our experience, when the sun is shining, and if you look at it this way, that the clouds are coming and going in front of the sun, but due to the sunlight we are seeing those clouds. Similarly, this soul is present there. Although he is present there, these things keeps coming, all the emotions. And in our experience, the soul doesn't exist because it keeps coming and covering and going away. They come and they go, and that is how it is working. That these things are not permanent, the soul is permanent. That is the reason when, in spite of all different bad qualities or emotions within us, still the spurti from the soul keeps coming out. In a bad person, in a thief, in a rich man, in a poor man, in a king, in a minister, everybody gets it. That's spurti. Spurti comes to everybody at some time or the other. That's why in those areas, as I mentioned, these things are common to everyone. Whether it is good or bad doesn't matter. In some people, there may be very strong bad qualities coming up. In some people, it may be less. But majority cases, you can observe this, that in spite of all these different emotions coming through, suddenly this spurti from inside, which is permanent there, he comes out. That is that what mentions there. That spurti that comes out from inside. So, because these strong emotions and thoughts that's coming, it is because of the presence of that I am not knowing the presence of the soul inside, not experiencing that. So, you can look at this way. When emotions comes, very strong emotions comes, you look at it yourself. You can see that behind those emotions somebody is hiding. Behind that emotion somebody is hiding. In a very subtle level, if you observe, you will notice that. Say you got very angry. And then, if you carefully look back afterwards when the anger has gone, you will start realizing that that anger had nothing to do with you. It has come and it is gone. And only what mistake you have done was you are identified with it. That's all what happened. It is the identification that is the problem. The anger is not the problem. Anger is not the problem. The identification is the problem. So, otherwise, that anger cannot function if you did not identify with it. You are the person who has given life to that anger. You are the person who has given life to anger. These are the subtle side of these emotions in relationship with the soul. But when we are completely covered with avidya inside, jnana comes inside, what happens? We completely forget about our identity with the soul and we completely identify with the anger or identify with the lust or identify with the greed, and the result is we suffer. The result is we suffer. So for example, vigara. Vigara means these emotions. These emotions cannot function if you have not given life to it. For example, this pillar cannot get angry, can it? Pillar cannot get angry. Pillar cannot get lusty. Pillar cannot get greedy. Cannot get angry. Nothing. Why? Why is that cannot get angry? Because it comes to, I get it. I get it. So that comes, that I am getting it. That itself is a symptom of knowledge. That itself is a symptom of knowledge. You have to accept that because there is no other way to make it clear. That when you say after you got angry, I got angry, or sometimes somebody has irritated you a lot, you say to him, you know I'm getting angry with you. You say like that, isn't it? You say to people sometimes. Father tells the children sometimes, stop it, I'm getting angry now. That's it. He says like that. So that statement that I am getting angry is the symptom of knowledge inside. At that time, the soul inside has separated you from the anger and kept you separate. That's why you are able to say that. But the moment you fall victimized by the anger and you identify with it, then you lost it. Then you have lost it. Like this, there are so many things in the Shastram to prove it to us that soul is independent. It is Shuddham, pure. To prove that the soul is pure. Soul is not affected by anything. Only the identification is causing the problem, not the soul is not the problem. Soul is not the problem. That is why when you define the soul, how do we say? Nityam, Shuddham, Buddham, Muktam, Swarupam. Its Swarupam is eternal. Its Swarupam is pure. It is pure. Swarupam is pure conscious. Its Swarupam is fully conscious, and its Swarupam is fully liberated. These four things, if it is fully realized, you have realized the truth. You have realized it, you escape from the body. That is what is spoken here. So similarly, so realization means what? That I am what I am. I am what I am. To stay in that position, that is called self-realization. That is called self-realization. And the same thing in the Jnani's language, they call it as Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That means there is no more Vikalpam anymore. They will use different words. In yoga system, Ashtangam, they call it as Nirvija Samadhi. Jnanis call it as Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In various ways it is addressed. But what it means is, there is no more Vikalpam inside. Vikalpam means no thought waves, no emotions, but completely in that Shanti state of the soul, identification, complete identification. That is what is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as they are calling it here. So that is what is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So in other words, in my pure state, without getting any other emotions mixed up, without getting any other emotions mixed up with my identity, I will be present here completely in my spiritual position, spiritual awareness. If it does not get mixed up with any emotions, only in that state, that is that famous word you must have heard, Prajnanam Brahman. Prajnanam Brahman comes from that. Shuddha Prajna. Prajnanam Brahman is one of the Upanishad statements from one of the Vedas. It is mentioned in the Chaitanya also. Prabhupada mentions the 4 Mahavakyams and which Upanishads, which Vedam it comes from. So Prajnanam Brahma is the first step in that. That Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnanam is fully revealed to us when in my identity as the soul, it is never touched by any of the emotions, any of the thought waves, nothing can pollute that, and in that state, in that awareness if you stay, that is Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnanam Brahma it is called. So, Shuddha Prajna or pure Prajna. Everything is Bodham, isn't it? Bodham means awareness. Bodham means, what it mentions here, that what does Bodham means? Bodham, we have to understand, Bodham, awareness. Bodham is not a word, isn't it? What does Bodham mean? It is, if you say the word Bodham, it's only a concept. It's only a concept. But what is Bodham? Where will you search for Bodham? It is a very interesting thing actually. This attribute of the soul called consciousness, isn't it? People have thought about this consciousness a lot. In many ways, we also say Krishna consciousness. What does that consciousness mean? How will you explain that consciousness? That's the most interesting thing. Consciousness, when we talk about, so much imagination comes in our thoughts, in the mind and intelligence, isn't it? So, when you start searching, trying to understand, first thing definition is Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnana means consciousness is Brahma. That's the first thing. But then the next question will be asked after that. Where will I search for that consciousness? Where will I find it? That is where the second Mahavakyam comes, which is called Aham Brahmasmi. That's where you search. These are very interesting concepts in the Upanishads. Gives you enough to those who have got that nature of reflection, or those who can have got time and interest in that. They take tremendous joy from this experience of the realization of Upanishads. It's the most amazing thing and most beautiful thing, that how such a fine way this realization is brought to the person. It's not something just like in the Bhakti Margam. When you chant and dance and feast, how you feel for a few moments of bliss, isn't it? You also feel some bliss at that time. People, devotees say that it was ecstatic, highly blissful and all that, isn't it? We say like that. There are emotions, isn't it? But when on a subtle level, in a completely subtle level, when you start seeing yourself what you are, that bliss that's coming from there is really a very high magnitude. That freeing from the body, moving away from the body every step. Moving away from the body every step. So that is why when prior to studying these Upanishads and developing that realization inside, they have drawn out a program how body and mind are interacting at every moment. And what is coming from the body, what's coming from the mind, what's coming from the soul. All this has to be very specifically understood. Only then it is possible to analyze further. Most of us, what do we think? Everything is coming from the mind. To my mind, we say, isn't it? To my mind, I think. Either I'll identify with the mind or I'll identify with my intelligence. We never say my soul is telling me, or soul is saying this. No. Always it's I think or to my mind. It finishes there. I over, the I is over there. We cannot go more than that, isn't it? Therefore, what the rishis have done, rishis in their, the sages, they have in their greatest realized state, they have put all these things in a very systematic way and told us go through this again and again and again, and you will shift your way that avidya inside will get thrown out. You are only, all what you are doing is you are removing the avidya from inside. Avidya has come and made a huge impact inside. The cloud has become very strong there. Therefore, you can't see the sun inside. That is the Jnanamarga process. So that's why it mentions here. That second one called Aham Brahmasmi. So if you want to see that Prajnanam Brahma, see that in Aham Brahmasmi. If you want to see Prajnanam Brahma, first you have to know Prajnanam is Brahma. That is why so much spoken about the body, mind and consciousness. After realizing it is consciousness that matters, then that is called Prajnanam Brahma. That consciousness is Brahma, Upanishad is saying. And if you are looking to find that consciousness of Brahman somewhere, look at it, Aham Brahmasmi. And that's what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, that Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nashojali Nakanshali Samasarveshu Bhudeshu Madbhaktim Lebhade Payam. That only in that Aham Brahmasmi state, Krishna says that what you will receive is Parabhakti. Parabhakti. Parabhakti is possible in Aham Brahmasmi state, not otherwise. What we do now is Sadhana Bhakti, isn't it? Sadhana Bhakti is for what? Sadhana Bhakti is not even discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. Very limited way it is spoken. But that too, actually more in relationship with Parabhakti. Because Sadhana Bhakti is only for a purification process. Parabhakti is real Bhakti, not Sadhana Bhakti. And that Parabhakti happens, as Krishna says, that in that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, when you have passed through these states, Prajnanam Brahmam, Aham Brahmasmi. After that is Parabhakti. Because Prajnanam Brahmam has to happen before Aham Brahmasmi. So in order to happen Prajnanam Brahmam, we have to go through a lot of other processes. That is why, although it may sometimes not very interesting this topic, now and then if you give time and reflect on this, you will see in Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has spoken about it in different ways to Arjuna and Uddhava about it. Indeed, about the same thing. So, it is 6:30 now. Stop it today. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and we will continue tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock.